Well, well, well. What else can we say? Christian Parker is going to give his first press conference for the Dallas Cowboys today. And I am pretty sure it looks like Brian Schottenheimer is going to be introducing him. So I'm envisioning that there's going to be a table. Brian Schottenheimer, Christian Parker, Jerry Jones, Stephen Jones. You rarely get a single press conference for the Dallas Cowboys unless it's during the season. So I'm very interested to hear what Christian Parker has to say about what's his plans, what's his scheme going to be. I'm also excited to hear what Brian Schottenheimer talked about when he listened to him. But I'm also very, very interested to hear what does Jerry Jones have to say about the entire process and what went into hiring one Christian Parker also. Cowboy fans, this is the beginning of the Cowboys Super Bowl run. Yep. Man, I am so excited. This is one of the main keys. This is going to be one of the main keys in the Cowboys getting back to what we call the promised land in the NFL, and that is the Super Bowl. Let's go. Let's get it. Welcome, 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 Cowboy fans and Cowboy haters alike. I'm the G, and I'm the host of Let's Talk Cowboys, where we talk facts. And if you like this video, don't forget at the end, if you like this video, this live stream, don't forget at the end to please like, share, subscribe, hit that notification bell so you know next time we post another video or go live. And yes, we are live for this special presentation of Christian Parker. I didn't want to come back and do a reaction video. I wanted to do a video right off the rip so we can hear firsthand what Christian Parker is saying. And so, if you haven't become a channel member or subscribers yet, what are you waiting on? We got a lot more coming up for this season. Well, a lot more coming up this year and next season. But let's talk facts. Christian Parker. This is a very important and pivotal moment, I believe, for the Dallas Cowboys Super Bowl run. This Super Bowl run for the Dallas Cowboys actually started last season when they hired Brian Schottenheimer. Now, this is the second piece, because I said last year you cannot build the best roster in the NFL in one season. That typically takes about 2 to 3 seasons. So here come the Cowboys. Last year, I believe they went to great lengths to improve their offense. You think about what they got with Ty Booker. You think about the trade for George Pickens. You think about the fruition of Ryan Flanoy. When you think about, I think, the emergence of one Brevin Spanford. You think about the comeback of Javonte Williams. The Cowboys have put together the first part of the puzzle. The offense, we know we need some work at offensive tackle. But nevertheless, now becomes the second part. And that is the defense. I said it last year. I was one of the first people to say it. I had issues with Matt Eberflus and the whole bend don't break concept. And man, it didn't break, it crumbled. It crumbled. But nevertheless, I always tell my sons, I always tell people, it's not about the mistakes you make. It's what do you do after the mistake. Jerry Jones expeditiously fired Matt Eberflus, and now we have Christian Parker. And I'm excited. I'm excited today to hear what does he have to say at 3 o'clock. So let's get a quick roll call in. We're about 4 minutes away. Let's go. Let's get it. Cowboy fans, let's go. That's that Quentin Williams. Yo, let's go. All right. Let's see who's gonna be in here today. Ice Cold Cowboy, he said, ooh wee, I'm the first like button smasher. Let's go. What up, Ice Cold? Queen, she said, I'm ready for this press conference. Me too. Big Mouse Dog, what up? Doomsday, is it about time to get the next Doomsday? He said, what up, G? Christian Parker, I believe, is a brilliant defensive young mind, and he's going to help our Cowboys get to that Super Bowl. I believe so too. Lord Nova, what up? Jeremy Betts, What up, Jacob Blackson? What's going on? We back. Derek Grimsley, what up? Good to see you. He said, what up, G? Cowboys going to be a much better defensive team with a defensive mindset first. No doubt about it. Yes, sir. Paul Whitted, what's going on? Let's go. Levin McMillan, Chris Dunaway, Mark Vasquez, Michi, yo, what up? Yo, let's go. Mr. Get Dirty, what's going on? Let's go. Levi McMillan, what up? Quentin Johnson, Cowboy fan Kevo, what up, Kevo? Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Steve Campanella, what up with your Aztec and Aguilar? What up, Miss Matrix? Good to see you. Good afternoon to you, too. Ty Howard, what's going on? Mike McCain. Hey, I'm saying Super Bowl 2026, no later than 27. Dominique Pittman, what's going on with you? Quentin Johnson, what's going on? Freddie Morales, El Chuco in the building. Yeah. Jamal Ism, what's going on? David Barnes, it is the Big Rombowski with the cold brew. What up? B Dunk, what up? Frederick Johnson, Thomas Goldring Jr., Derek Williams. It is Arkansas. Yeah. All right, it looks like we about to get this thing going. Give yourselves another hand. Best chat on YouTube. All right. Waiting on Christian Parker. The point man is in the building. What up, the point man? What's going on? He said, what up, G? What's your point? Yes, sir. I think that's that Jerry Jones, ain't it? What's your point? Yes, sir. What's going on? Mike Fields. Start going next with that super chat. Appreciate that $5 super chat. He said, I'm just as excited with this defense coaching hires as I was with the offense coaching hires last year. Can't wait to hear what CP has to say. Me neither. I am so waiting on this. And so let's kind of do waiting on. Let's see, kind of waiting on. I haven't seen it come up yet. We're over here on the Cowboys website. All right, here we go. They've already started the music. Yep. It's about that time. Go Cowboys. Yeah, I'm telling you, man, I am excited. Because last year I was excited about the offense, but I was kind of pressed. Man, I was really pressed about this thing with Matt Eberflus. I was really questioning this because Matt it just didn't seem, when I heard that bend don't break defense, when I started hearing the Rod Marinelli coaching tree, I'm just not a big fan of the Rod Marinelli coaching tree, and I'm not a fan of bend don't break defenses. I'm just not a fan of it. And so very excited, very, very excited to hear Christian Parker talk. See what he has to say, and I'm pretty sure Cowboys Nation do too, are too. Definitely excited to hear him talk about, and I'm sure he's not going to reveal everything, but definitely excited to hear him talk about his philosophy, what he thinks about current Cowboys players, you know, what made him excited about the Cowboys. Very excited about a lot of things to hear Christian Parker talk about today. One thing about these press conferences, they don't typically start. I mean, they got the music going at 3 o'clock, but we know that don't mean exactly 3 o'clock. So we'll continue to talk until it comes on. But man, very, very excited. Bernard Fields, what up? Levi McMillan, he said the NFL ain't ready for what we get. The NFL ain't ready for once we get a defense. Yeah, I agree. Jamal Ism, he said, gee, Would you trade up for Caleb Downs? Your thoughts? I talked about this the other day. I don't feel like the Cowboys should trade up for anybody because what Woolcheck, I guess his name is for 105.3 The Fan, Jamalism, I've heard other people talking about this. They're talking about trading a number 12 and trading the 12th and the 20th pick to go up and get Caleb Downs. And then we get their number 6. And then we also get a number 39 from whoever we're trading whoever we're trading with. That don't make sense to me. That don't make sense to me if I'm the Cowboys. I really think you are banking too much on one player that we have not seen play in the pros. Do I believe he's going to be great in the pros? Yes. But you're talking about you're going to give away the 12th and the 20th. You're going to give away 2 top 10 picks, 2 top 10 defensive picks possibly for 1 top 10 defensive pick. That don't make sense to me. That just don't make sense to me in the grand scheme of things. I can't roll in that direction. I cannot roll in that direction. For me, I got to wait and see if Caleb Downs falls to the Cowboys. I have to wait and see. Excuse me. Okay, I'm going to put this. We'll save it for after the press conference. Let me make sure we hadn't missed it. Do a refresh here. Make sure we hadn't missed a start. Hadn't started yet. Okay, let me show you something here. And we'll talk about this more after the press conference, Jamalism. We'll talk for about an hour after the press conference. But somebody put together a really good chart as it pertains to some of these top players and the Cowboys' chances of being able to get those top players. So as you can see, the Cowboys' chances of probably getting Caleb Downs is not very good. But I just couldn't see, if I'm the Cowboys, that I'm going to go up here and get Caleb Downs when I could just say, hold on a second, I got a chance to get Delane, Styles, McCoy, Falk, Howell, Terrell. I can't force myself to do that. If anything, if I'm the Cowboys, I'm actually trying to get more draft picks. If I'm the Cowboys, I'm trying to get more draft picks. Some people say they wouldn't touch the number 12 pick. I said that at first. I said I wouldn't touch the number 12 pick. But now the more I think about it, if the Cowboys are not going to, let's say, get Caleb Downs. You know, a lot of people keep talking about Caleb Downs. So if the Cowboys are not going to get Caleb Downs, I would love to know who is it that they want. And if I could get the player that I want at 15, I would see if I could trade back to maybe from 12 to 15, see if I can get back in a second. I would try to trade back from number 20 to 23. If I know that I can still get the defensive player that I want, I would trade back to 23. And notice my magic number is 3. I'm not gonna go too far back. So if I could go back to 15 and 23, and I can get in the second and the third round, well, I got me 4 picks now. That's where I'm going if I'm the Cowboys. I'm trying to get more picks. I'm not looking for scenarios where I'm trading away draft capital. I'm not looking for those scenarios. I'm looking for scenarios to where I can get more draft capital while also knowing that I can still get the players that I want. Because, again, Jamalism, I don't think the goal for the Cowboys should be get the best player available. Let's say BPA. I don't believe the goal for the Cowboys should be getting the best player available. I don't think the goal for the Cowboys should be getting the best player at a position per se. If I'm in this draft, okay, what if I say I don't get the best cornerback in the draft? What if I get the second best cornerback in the draft? Maybe I don't get the best edge rusher in the draft. Maybe I get the second best edge rusher in the draft. Maybe I don't get the best linebacker in the draft. I get the second best linebacker. I get the second best safety. My point is, if I'm the Cowboys, my goal is not to try. Man, we have been great at getting, we have gotten players. The Cowboys have not had problems at times at getting the best players. Where the Cowboys continue to fail is getting the players that fit the scheme and building the best team. The Cowboys' goal should be building the best team now. No more of the flashy, splashy stuff, trying to get the best players so everybody goes, oh, wow, the Cowboys got Caleb Downs. I'm not worried about getting Caleb Downs as much as I'm worried about the Cowboys getting the absolute best team that they can possibly put together. That is my goal for the Cowboys. And so again, Jamal-ism, if I'm the Cowboys, I'm trying to get draft capital. And even if I don't touch the number 12th pick, maybe that one I wouldn't touch because that's kind of where I was before. And I still say that's a good strategy too. Maybe you don't touch the number 12 pick, but you touch the number 20 pick. And that's the one where you say, well, I'll try to get back in the third round. But I still say if you're willing to wheel and deal with that number 12 and that number 20 pick and don't go back further than 3 spots, I think there's a chance the Cowboys could absolutely get themselves 2 more draft picks and still stay in the first round at 15 and 23. I wouldn't go back any further than that. But that's where I am, Jamal-ism. But I'll tell you this. It's not that I'm not sold on Caleb Downs. I just think when you do that, you're betting the entire draft. You're basically betting the entire draft on Caleb Downs. I want a bunch of shots at the top 20 defensive players. I want about 2 shots at the top 25 defensive players in college football. That's what I want if I'm the Cowboys. That's what I want. I'm trying to maximize this draft because we've traded away so many draft picks. Jamal-ism, again, appreciate that super chat. Jamal said, my pushback is how do we address safety? It's probably the biggest need, agree or disagree. So, again, kind of follow what I'm saying. Let's look over here as we kind of wait on this, Jamal-ism. This is kind of where I am on this. Follow the method to my madness. So, for me, for example, I'm not saying you don't address safety. I'm just saying it doesn't have to be Caleb Downs. That's my issue. It doesn't have to be Caleb Downs. Why can't it be Emmanuel Warren? Why can't it be Dylan Thienen? You don't have to go far down because you're going to be drafting so high at number 12 and 20. And even if you went to 15 and 23, you still are going to get one of these safeties if you want them. You can also go in there. Maybe you don't get Mansoon Delane. Maybe you get Avion Terrell. Maybe you get Brandon Sis, or whatever his name is here. You don't have to get the best players, the best player at a position. Just focus on getting the best players that fit your team. And so for me, as long as I'm going to get one of the top 3 cornerbacks in the draft, as long as I can get one of the top 3 safeties in the draft, as long as I can get one of the top 3 linebackers in the draft, or one of the top 3 edge rushers, that's my focus with the Cowboys. I'm going, it's not that I'm going quantity over quality. I think I can get quantity and quality if I just say, as long as I can stay within the top 3 of these players. That's kind of where I am if I'm the Dallas Cowboys dealing with this. That's kind of where I am if I'm the Cowboys trying to figure this thing out as far as my draft goes. Because, again, the issue for the Cowboys is you have to get draft capital. That's the issue with the Cowboys. And also, I appreciate Star Guardian X. Because Star Guardian X is saying stay at 12. So let's follow this line of thinking, what Star Guardian X just put up. So this is me if I'm the Cowboys. The way I'm going to trade back if I'm the Cowboys. Of course, I'm not going to trade back as soon as the draft starts. If I'm the Cowboys, the way I trade back is I see who goes in the top part of the draft. I'm going to see who goes. So, for example, this is supposed to be the top 11 picks before the Cowboys get up. So if I'm the Cowboys, I'm going to see how this goes. I just don't think the Cowboys get Caleb Downs. I just don't think it's possible, and I don't think it's worth trading up for. Because you can still get a really good safety in this draft, even if you go in the top 3 to 4 safeties. You can still get you a good safety. If I'm the Cowboys, I'm going to see how it goes. And if somebody let's say I wanted Sonny Styles and even Sonny Styles isn't there. Well, I'll trade back to number 15. I'll trade back to number 15 and say, okay, I can still get a very good player here. But I'm going to play it as it goes. Same thing with the number 20 pick. If whoever I want at number 20 is gone, I'm going to be seeing, okay, could I possibly trade back to 21, 22, or 23 and get me another draft pick, get me a third rounder, still get who I want, and then I can play on day 2. Because as it stands right now, the Cowboys will not be playing on day 2. The Cowboys will not be playing on day 2, so we're going to be having a party on day 1. But I really would like for the Cowboys to play on day 2. And so whether that be stay at 12, trade back the number 20 pick, or whether that be playing the draft and saying, okay, well, we couldn't get who we wanted at 12. So we can still get this player looking at the draft projections and kind of picking up the phone and calling around and seeing who's doing what. We could trade back a couple of picks and still get who we want if this player or that player isn't there. So again, my goal if I'm the Cowboys is to get quality and quantity. I want to get quality and quantity. That's what I would like to do because I do believe the Cowboys have got to get more defense. They got to get more defense. And so the other issue is still going to be free agency for the Cowboys. Who knows? We could actually get the safety in. We could possibly get the safety in free agency. I mean, there are going to be players. We're going to be hearing about more and more and more players shaking down. Teams are going to be getting rid of more and more players. So the key for the Cowboys, and this is why I keep saying a lot of, everybody keeps talking about the draft. The draft isn't the issue for the Cowboys. The draft isn't the issue. It's free agency. Free agency for the Cowboys is going to dictate more of what they do in the draft. So before, and again, the draft talk for me is very premature. That's why I'm not doing a lot of this mock draft stuff. I'm more concerned, and I'm going to turn my focus towards here in the next few days. My focus is going to be turned more towards it's free agency. Free agency is the place year after year after year. The Cowboys continue to come up short. Now, last season, the Cowboys did a great job in free agency. I think the trade with George Pickens, and then I think they got some quality players. Problem is, some of the players, they either got injured and some of them didn't pan out. But that was still a good practice for the Cowboys because they didn't do anything the previous years in free agency or was nowhere near as aggressive as they were. They were in times past. They haven't even been aggressive. So last year they kind of got their feet wet. So again, the key for the Cowboys, because if you keep looking at these Super Bowl teams, it never fails. It's drafting and free agency. All right, let's go. We got Christian Parker up here now. Let's get this thing going.
Could have brought some food, Tad.
All right, Calvin.
Tad slipping. Calvin Watkins of the Dallas Morning News. I have a question for each of you. First for Brian. The process to hiring Christian was a little different from when you hired the previous coordinator. Why the change? Why it was so extensive this go around?
Well, I think obviously we wanted to get it right. We're excited about the process and how it worked out. I think, when you look at what we did last year on offense, we went through a very thorough process and came away with a bunch of guys that I really hadn't worked with, had been known about them for a while. But I think this was really just something where we were excited to say, hey, take a deep breath. Let's get it right. I think we did over 40 total interviews, 9 of which were coordinators. He was the last one, by the way. He was the last Zoom that we did. And every impression we had with CP was just left us wanting more. The conviction that he has, but curious, his calm demeanor. You guys will get to know him. Just the way he carries himself is awesome. But really, the process was thorough. It was long. Jerry and Steven, I think, they hung with me, which is great. We did so many layers of this thing, man. I mean, we got into concepts and techniques at every level. To hear Jerry talk about playing 4-eye was really cool for me. You know, he's going back to Arkansas now. So, I mean, I don't think they called them 4 eyes back then. But when we got into the weeds, man, and just every time we spent time with CP, it became very clear that he was the guy for the job.
This is for Christian. Obviously, everyone wants to know, what kind of defense do you want to bring to the Cowboys?
Yeah, well, the first thing is we're going to be multiple. I think that whenever you form a defensive structure, it's about the players that you have. So core principles, I mean, we'll be a 3-4 by nature, but, 4-3 spacing will be appropriate, 4-2-5 in nickel, different front structures, coverages behind it. But I would say being multiple is probably the most important thing about it.
Clarence Hill, DLLS Cowboys. First, Shadi, talk about the trust that Jerry and those guys showed in you to lead the process.
Well, again, I think, Jerry and Steve and I, grew very close over the years. Just we had real conversations, as you know, Clarence, and spent a lot of time together. But we did this together, and it was awesome, and the process was awesome. And I'm not being funny when I say, like, to get, Jerry to be willing to sit in on 40-something interviews, was extremely – I was stoked. I mean, I was so excited that he wanted to dive deep into the weeds with us and go into the fundamentals and the techniques and all those things we talked about. And, we stayed in constant communication. And that's how you feel great about it. And like I said, like we told all the cans when they came in, for us, we felt like last year we were able to build a program on offense. And we wanted to build a program on defense where you're self-sustaining. You've got great coaches, and when we win, which we're going to win, and we're going to compete for Super Bowls, people come after your staffs. You look at what Seattle and some of those teams are dealing with right now, and you want to have the infrastructure and the people underneath to where, you promote from within more times than not. And so it was a great process, and they were in it along the way, along with a few other guys. And I believe in the process. I'm a process guy, and I think we hit a home run with this guy.
Yeah, it seemed like you were barking up the right tree. All the guys that got second interviews got jobs, and everybody loved him in their respective cities. But what stood out about CP that put him at the top of the list?
Again, the way he carries himself. He's wise beyond his years. I mean this. He's convicted. I did tell him that I was a coordinator at 32 years old. He's 34, so he's been slacking. I'm a little disappointed that, I had to beat him by 2 years. But, I say that in jest because, like, he's been preparing for this for the last 4 or 5 years. When you're designing defense, you're the pass game coordinator on defense. You're basically involved in calling third downs and giving those things. And I say it because it's real. He was the last Zoom that we did, and as he started talking, it wasn't just him talking about his watches and his shoe game. He got a serious shoe game. Yeah, he got a shoe room. You guys can write about that. He's got a shoe room. But man, every time we talk, we just would get off a call or get off the Zoom and get off the interview, just be like, damn, I want more of that. And I think his ability to develop players is very obvious. You look at what he did in Denver, involved with Surtain, and you look at what they did in Philadelphia, obviously with Cooper DeJean and Mitchell and guys like that. He's done it. And ton of respect for Vic Fangio. He's cut his, teeth under Vic, but he's not Vic. He's got his own convictions and beliefs, and that's what I love about the guy.
Real quickly, congratulations.
Thank you.
What stood about the Cowboys for you, and why did you want this job?
I think when, we initially started the process, you could tell there was an aligned vision for what they wanted in the position, where we wanted to go forward. Obviously, a great deal of respect for not only the organization, but the players involved on the team, having been in division for the past 2 years and having different times going against them. Significant offensive firepower, stayed up a lot of late nights trying to prepare for. So it always helps when you have a franchise quarterback and offensive skill players on that side of the ball that can control the game for you. But I think the biggest thing was just the alignment. You could feel from everybody in the building during those interactions that there was a shared vision involved and people wanted to move forward in the right direction.
Christian, Todd Archer with ESPN. How ready are you for this?
I'm ready.
Where does the confidence come from that you know you're ready to handle it?
I think confidence comes from preparation, and I think that I've been able to learn from the right people. So I think that when you've been involved with different people along my journey that I've learned under as head coaches and defensive coordinators, number one, and then the diversity of scheme that I've been involved with, and then you kind of become accustomed to what you're comfortable with in your own ideas. You like certain things, you don't like certain things, what will work, what won't work. I think as you kind of get involved with different people, you kind of form your own identity. So when you have that opportunity, you know what you want to do. And I've kind of gone through that process internally for a great deal of my career. So I've prepared as much as I possibly can at this moment.
And obviously it wasn't a good year for the Cowboys defensively last year and what they did, but your thoughts on what is in-house here and how you can improve the guys that are already here as opposed to waiting for what happens in the draft?
Yeah, I mean, the game is definitely won and lost up front. And we have significant players in the front seven. And so I think that when you start with that defensive line room and what you're able to do in controlling the pocket, stopping the run, you control what an offense is able to do, and you're able to dictate to them on their terms. So you're not playing the whole playbook when you win first and second down. So I think it starts there. That's where the excitement starts. And there's several other pieces that have been proven playmakers. And we look forward to kind of bringing it all together in the next couple months.
John Machota with The Athletic. Obviously, a big part of your job is teaching. What do you think makes a good teacher?
I think you have to know the student first and foremost. You have to know who you're talking to. What might hit one player's brain is going to hit different than another. So being thorough and being detailed, being very clear and concise in terms of your messaging and when to correct, when not to correct. Sometimes players got to touch the stove. You just want to do it in a controlled environment. But just how to do that, the diversity of teaching, whether it's on the field, in the meeting room, Kahoot quizzes, physical quizzes, showing them video examples, having them teach it in front of a room. There's so many different ways that you can kind of get in the weeds of teaching scheme, technique, situational awareness, and really you just want to expose players to as many different examples because it's going to hit everybody differently in terms of how they're able to learn that.
And I don't know if it might be for both of you, but as you were filling out the defensive staff, how important was that when you were interviewing candidates, the teaching aspect of it?
Well, I'll take it first. I think, I was impressed with Christian, obviously, through the whole process, but impressed me even more was when I saw him interacting through this process of going through the interviews for the position jobs, right? Like, there was an alignment he and I had talked about before we offered them the job about, okay, well, let's talk about some things because obviously there's a very competitive field when you're trying to build a staff and there's good coaches out there. There's good coaches in different realms, but seeing him through the interview process, John, got me really excited about him as a leader. Him being, very comfortable having the hard conversations. That's what I am. I'm a person who loves to have hard conversations. And again, the reason we wanted to talk before we decided to do this partnership was to make sure we could have those hard conversations. And so I think that's something from the very beginning that I felt great about. Anything with staff?
No, I think that we, extensive search, very thorough, trying to just balance it. I think, compatibility is very important. And obviously the teaching element is significant, right? But you want to have the right collection of people by position, whether it's, what schemes they've been in previously, what they've done, their area of focus and expertise when it comes to game planning and all that kind of stuff with player development. And, we definitely feel like we have the right mix.
Is the interview process the first time you guys have ever met?
No, we met when we had joint practice when I was in Denver in 2022. There was like a little coaches mixer at Ocean Prime out there in the Denver Tech area. We met real quick.
See how smart he is? I wouldn't remember that.
Yeah, we met real quick. But that was a, just quick handshake introduction. There was a bunch of other people around during that time, but actually having, conversation and talking football and everything else, this process was the first time.
And you guys know this with me, like this is a name that I've had in my notebook for the last couple of years. You know, people just kept talking about this guy from Denver and Green Bay originally, but Denver and then in Philadelphia, you know, and so he was a name that I'd been, you know, hearing a lot about for a long time, no different than Clayton Adams, you know, in terms of, hey, if you ever get a shot, you know, these would be names that you would be intelligent and smart to talk to.
Hey, Christian. Nick Harris, Forward Star Telegram. Congratulations. Obviously, your experience is pretty deep. Brian mentioned Vic Fangio, but also Vance Joseph, even Mike Elko. How do you see those guys playing into you building this scheme and call sheet for the first time in your career? And then where do you see your little nuances coming into play as well?
Yeah, a lot of them have a lot of similarities but differences. I think foundationally, you know, Vic, Vance, Mike Pettin, Coach Elko, Gerald Evero all came out of a 3-4 structure. I think that once you get past that, from the fronts you build and the coverages you do and the personality on third down, red zone, you definitely have a mentality as a play caller, but I think that it's still going to be designed around the players that you have. So there's different nuances that I've taken from each one of them. And even people outside of that, as I've had extensive studies and you build relationships outside of the circle you've been in that you know you want to incorporate with what you want to do.
And then are you more of a guy that falls under the line of thinking of building a scheme around the players or acquiring players to fit the scheme?
I think you build it around the players. You know, of course, you want to have your core principles and foundational beliefs, you know, but as you kind of move forward in the process, what do your guys do well? How can you put good players in highlighted positions? How can you create one-on-ones for certain guys? How you can protect certain guys? You know, if we can win on blitzes on a running back, then we're going to blitz a lot. You know, if we got good man-to-man corners, we're going to play man. You know, if we have guys that are better with zone vision, we're going to play more zone. So, you know, you want to build a package that has diversity and scheme, and then you want to, you know, tailor it to the players that you have. And, of course, there are schematic fits, you know, but I think the really good players are the ones that you can't peg them in a certain scheme, and that's the only way they can play football. You want to have guys that no matter what scheme they're in, they can be significant contributors, and then you want to just highlight it around their strengths.
You mentioned those core beliefs, philosophies. What are those for you, one or two?
Yeah, I think, you know, definitely want to, you know, stop the run and affecting the quarterback, I think, are the two most important things you can do. You affect the quarterback by stopping the run. Sometimes affecting the quarterback comes through pressure. Sometimes it comes through disguise. Sometimes it comes through just the talent that you're able to have and the ability to play, the play style. But I think those two things are where it starts. Because if you can stop the run, you can get teams in predictable downs on second, you know, get back on track, and then third and longs, then you have more schematic versatility. If we're playing a whole bunch of 3rd and 2s and 3rd and 3s, usually those aren't the defenses that are successful. But if you can win first down and you're strong in the fundamentals, we're getting off blocks, we're tackling, we're attacking the football, we're situationally aware, those are the ones that are successful.
Tommy Yars, DallasCowboys.com. Hey, Christian. Just overall, in your past, you've had a strong track record with corners and developing them. What do you make of some of the guys that you've got now here in Dallas, like a Savon Rebel or a Deron Bland? And what do you see their next steps being under your vision?
Yeah, I mean, they have different strengths. Definitely evaluated Rebel last year in the draft process. Had one of his teammates at Denver, Jaquan McMillan from ECU, so kind of had a little bit of intel there. But, you know, his ability to erase receivers in press coverage, he's very aggressive in run support, and he has the long speed and athletic traits that you want at the position. Obviously, coming off the injury, you know, getting him healthy is a significant part of that, and him having the confidence to do so. And then Bland, just, you know, he's instinctive and he takes the ball away at a high rate. You saw that from Sac State to Fresno to now here. So very excited to work with those guys.
Now that you're the coordinator, not as much time to spend with the defensive backs, how do you plan to manage your time so that you can still, you know, keep developing defensive backs like you have in the past and also manage all the units on your defense? Yeah,
well, I think it starts with the coaches that we hired. You know, have a lot of confidence in Derek Ansley, Ryan Smith, and Rob Muschamp in the secondary to drive the bus when it comes to that and the development. Obviously, my eyes are naturally going to start there when it comes to it, and I'm going to have to, like, fight the magnetic force during individual periods that's going to draw me to the DBs and go somewhere else. But have a lot of confidence in those guys to teach and develop those players, and we're excited about that.
Jane
Slater, NFL Network. Coach, do you think last year your team had a defensive identity? And if it didn't, what did you want it to be at the end of the season?
Yeah, again, I think, talking to the players, I think they did feel that way a little bit. And I think, there was a change that was made, and the change was made when we got Quinnen. And all of a sudden the 5 down becomes real, and so you start making those adjustments. The biggest thing I would say, Jane, though, was it was more about the identity moving forward. And that's why the process was so long. That's why it was so many Zooms and so many interviews. And you get the coordinator, you're not done. Because, again, Christian's a great coach, but, again, you got to have the position rooms, managed the same way. What's been awesome for me, Jane, has been the excitement of our players. Our players are around a little bit, whether they're just hanging around, but they're coming to see him and be around. You see the excitement for Christian and the other staff and the connection that's already started. And so for me, that gets me excited because, again, that's what you want. You want these guys to be excited about not only what Christian, but Marcus Dixon, Scott Simons are all going to bring to this defense, and there will be an identity and there will be a philosophy. And I think that we've done the first part, but there's still a lot of work left.
My next one's for Christian. One thing we got to know with Shotty last year was his why. What was your why when you got into coaching?
I think that I had a lot of coaches over the course of my life that really helped develop me outside of my parents. The discipline, the confidence factor, the team element of it. I think, I'm the oldest of 3 boys, so, being a big brother, there's an element of that in the coaching side too, in terms of the relationships that you build and how you try to help them learn from their own mistakes, but also like not letting them fall under the same things that you might have encountered. And I think just passion for the game. I love football. I love everything it brings, game day, practice, the late nights watching film, all that stuff. And then you kind of find this happy medium, and it never feels like work.
Skyler.
Skyler Dixon with the AP. Christian, welcome. Cooper DeJean had some high praise for you on social media when the news broke. And Shotty mentioned the development of him and Quinion Mitchell. I just wondered, from your point of view, how much do you think the development of those 2 guys and maybe some others sort of led to this opportunity?
I think, great players make great coaches. So, when you're around talented individuals that love the game like you do and they're willing to put in that work, there's definitely a happy marriage there when it comes to player development. They challenge you as a coach. There's been plenty of players that you learn from them, whether it's how you taught them or things they might have done at a different stop or how they see the game between the lines. So I think it's definitely some give and take there when it comes to that. But I was definitely blessed to have coached some of the guys in my past.
Did you watch the NFC East Hard Knocks at all?
No.
Okay. I'm just curious if you would see kind of inside this building. I know you don't get to see deep inside of the building and that, but
no, I avoided. I didn't want to watch that stuff. No.
Ask him about The Gambler. Does he watch The Gambler?
I did.
Yeah, he did watch The Gambler. Smart man.
Yeah, so I did.
Cliff notes.
That was kind of my, I kind of I was snowed in Philly and, accepted the job. I was there, couldn't get really out. And we were just, doing Zoom interviews all day and stuff. And I started watching a couple of those episodes to try to educate myself a little bit. So, yeah, that was good.
Give us any insight into the Philly-Dallas hate. Philly hate for Dallas?
It's real. Yeah, it's real. I think it's mutual too. So, yeah, it's real. I think all division rivalries are a great part of the game and why you do it. That's what makes it special when you have those rivalries, and that usually means you're playing for something. You don't have rivalries if you're a bad team. You have rivalries when you have significant opponents, and those games are high leverage situations, and that's when the best players show up.
Garrett
Podell, CBS Sports. Christian Bryant talked about using 5 down fronts to get guys like Quinnen Williams, Oso Digizua, and Kenny Clark all on the field. What is your thought on kind of making sure 3 highly paid interior defensive players get, commensurate play time given their money?
Yeah, I think you have different ways of doing that. 5 down is one of them. There's some different 4 down structures you can do that with as well. There's 6 down presentations you can do that with as well. So, like I said earlier, the defensive line and winning the game up front is significant. So how we can change the math and get our best players on the field will always be a part of what we do.
Brian, I know you've talked about here when it comes to player acquisition and things like that. Obviously, Jerry runs the show for that. But what have your talks been with him about in terms of rebuilding the defense, the resources the team can maybe look to committing for that in free agency?
Yeah, I think it's really just getting started, Garrett. I think you come out of this search and you go through this process of hiring the staff, and now we're going through the process of making sure the critical factors by position are filled out. As we get ready to go into an exciting time of the combine and the draft prep and free agency and all that stuff. But it's an exciting time, and the one thing you know about our process is going to be daily. It's going to be 24/7, 365. And like I say, Jerry's a great listener, man, and he asks great questions. And I think that's why the way we do it, we have a lot of success because it's very collaborative.
What are your critical factors?
Critical factors by position. So like for corners, what we're looking for in a corner, whether it's measurables, okay, but then things are going to be asked to do, traits. And so obviously we had that filled out on offense, and we had the same thing on defense last year, but they're going to be a little different. And so, you know, how you talk about using a 4-eye or how you use outside linebacker and some of the pieces that we have in place, and then some of the areas that we need to, you know, add through the course of free agency and the draft.
Kevin.
Christian, Kevin Sherrington, Dallas Morning News. Did Jerry promise you that the first 2 picks would be on defense?
No, he didn't.
Thank goodness.
Are you going to be campaigning for that?
Absolutely.
And did you bring any Eagles with you? Are you bringing any Eagles with you?
We'll see. We can't really speak about that. Worried about the guys that's on the roster right now.
Brad.
Brad Sham, Cowboys Radio, 105.3 The Fan. Welcome. As we watched the playoffs, it became apparent defense was much more pronounced as the playoffs unfolded. Do you think defense is something that builds through the course of a season, or can you be dominant all year? How do you think that works?
Yeah, I think you can. I think that definitely as the year goes on, you find your personality from your play style and your players and putting them in those situations. I think that, you know, playoff football, especially, you know, in the elements, you know, that's when the real defenses definitely show up in January and February. But you definitely want to, you know, try to approach the offseason and training camp in a way that you can start fast in terms of execution. That's most important in the fundamentals, because it doesn't matter what your scheme is if you don't do the little things the right way. So you have to start there, and then as you kind of get through the season, you continue to build on those foundational blocks. And then you should have a really good idea as the year goes and the roster is more consistent in terms of what you do and don't do well.
Thank you. And the Philly hate being real. What did it feel like taking off the green and putting on the blue? And have you heard from any of your players there that said, man, why'd you have to go there?
Yeah, I mean, first they were just real excited for me to have this opportunity. Of course, they had mixed emotions about having to, you know, see each other twice a year on different sidelines, but just excited and blessed for this, being here. I think, again, any team you talk to in a division, there's going to be some emotions about that, but it's all respect at the end of the day because, you know, we're all trying to reach a common goal, and everybody has those individual aspirations to make that happen.
Did it feel weird putting on the blue?
It did, but that didn't last too long. Yeah.
Blake Elliott, 105.3 Fans for you, Coach Parker. If I did my research correctly, political science degree you finished with. How was that understanding of leadership and systems helped you be a better coach when you were in your other stops and continuing to be when you're going to be a defensive coordinator? Yeah.
I think, you know, going to the University of Richmond, small school, small class size, obviously in the political science realm, a lot of the stuff is centered around the debate element or discussion. So when you have those conversations about different leaders in the past, whether it's, you know, on the philosophy side or world leaders in different countries and figuring out different vantage points on why they did what they did, I think it definitely leads into the coaching world, whether it's, you know, your Marcus Aurelius and Seneca and the whole, you know, philosophical realm there with the principle of stoicism and things like that, or just, you know, the art of war and that kind of, you know, military strategy, all those type of things. You see those worlds blended a lot when you come to those different backgrounds. And so the books that I might be was supposed to read that I didn't, you kind of end up circling back to when you get into this.
And then for Coach Schottenheimer, who are some people that you lean on when you have questions? Everyone comes to you being the head coach. Who is somebody that when Coach Schottenheimer has a question, he goes to?
Oh, man, it's a good question. There's so many. It depends. You know, a lot of times if it's personnel driven, John Schneider, you know, out in Seattle, it's usually people that I've been, you know, to battle with, you know, and that care about me as a person, know me as a man, know what's important to me, because there's great advice, right? Everybody has great advice. People have been exposed to different things, but if they don't know where I'm coming from, then you lose the authenticity part of it. But, you know, just because we're into the personnel side of it right now, like John was the first name that popped in my mind because I just think he does a great job. Obviously, they just won the Super Bowl, but he's been doing it for a long time together, and he and I used to do pretend drafts, late at night, and it's cool to see the success that he's had.
Do you think there's any kind of negatives or could be problems with having such a young staff, and how do you overcome that with the staff?
No, I don't think so at all. I think, you're talking, I think 6 of the 9 guys we hired on defense have NFL experience. I think I go back to 2 things, energy and connection. I can see the excitement of our players. Marquise Bell was in today. DeMar Overshown came in yesterday. Like, the guys are excited. They're excited about Christian and the staff that we've put together. I think, again, we left no stone unturned in the search. A couple guys from college, a couple guys that have been coordinators before at different levels of football. And at the end of the day, man, if you can teach and motivate these guys and get them to know you care about them, these guys have shown they will run through a brick wall for you. And I think that's what we're going to get.
Christy Scales, Cowboys Radio 105.3. Christian, first of all, thank you. It's been 36 years of these press conferences, and now I have Marcus Aurelius and Seneca to put on my press conference bingo.
I've never used that, Christy. Is that what you're saying? I've never used that? I use Ted Lasso and things like that. Way to go.
And he wasn't talking about Seneca Wallace.
Yeah, exactly. I didn't know that one.
I've been waiting. I'm waiting for the believe sign to go over there. Coach Lasso. And one thing that we hear often when there are changes on a coaching staff is coaching the coaches. The first part of this question, Brian, how long, because there was such different backgrounds offensively last year, how long did it take where you really thought everyone hit their stride in terms of coaching the coaches and being on the same page?
Are you talking about on offense? I feel like we had a good grasp of it going into the start of the offseason program, but I wouldn't say until after the OTAs we were totally aligned. I think that's important. During the time of the end of offseason program, OTAs end to training camp to make sure you kind of have it going. But there's constant communication. And again, I felt like we built a program on offense last year that will sustain. It's going to sustain our success, and it's going to sustain when you lose players to injuries and you're going with 4 new offensive linemen and things like that. But that only happens, Christy, through long nights, hard conversations, disagreements. Arguments, that happens in our business, but you work through it. And it takes someone like a Clayton Adams, someone like a Christian Parker to work through those arguments and to get everybody aligned and going in the same direction. But it's a long task. And I think we've started it, but like I said, we're just getting started. And the biggest piece we're in right now, they're getting ready to do playbook, but right now it's personnel driven.
And so the Christian, the part to you in juggling that and where you've got putting a playbook together, but also evaluations going into the draft. I mean, what are the immediate priorities in terms of the staff that you brought on board, but then all of the other things that are happening going into the draft?
For sure, I think that it definitely starts with the players. We want to be on the have a shared vision in terms of what we're looking for, what we're prioritizing. Different positions require different things. I think that the play style that we want to exhibit is crucial. So you want to find players that fit in that mold. And then as we move on, you kind of get into, the offensive language. What are we calling formations and passing concepts and route concepts? And what is our language for tackling and taking the ball away? And then front structures, coverages, the whole 9. You just kind of go through the whole process and take it piece by piece.
And on the language, is that something where you use a lot that they've used already, or are you planning on introducing a lot new?
I think you do both. I mean, right now there's not really, the players aren't here consistently to say what they've called different things. I mean, there's been 4 different defenses in the last 4 years, so there's not a lot of continuity relative to that. So I think it starts with, the staff just, we're in the room upstairs and we kind of start with the foundation of what we want to call things and make sure it's streamlined in a way that's easily digestible for the players. And then you build on that in different realms.
Were you given any assurances by the Cowboys, Jones, Shotty, that there will be significant upgrades made on the roster for your defense?
Yeah, I mean, I think that anytime, you're trying to elevate and do things from year to year, you're always looking at the roster and how you can make it better. So I think that's pretty much a given wherever you're at.
Is your youth an advantage? I mean, Clowney was 33. I mean, do you see your youth as an advantage here?
I mean, I don't know. I've always been young, so I don't know. I don't know.
Enjoy it. Enjoy it. Ask us. Enjoy it. Yeah. Not you, Brad. You're fine, Brad. You're good.
I don't know anything else. So Yeah, I mean, I think the work ethic and schematic diversity in terms of who I've worked for and who I've been around and how I was raised, that has to be the advantage in the staff we've hired and the collaboration more so than maybe my age.
You started HBCU. Can you just talk about your journey? I mean, it seemed like it's been a meteoric rise from where you started to being a coordinator at this young age. Why? What's been the key for you?
Yeah, I mean, I think, again, just, Latrell Scott hired me as a, 21-year-old coming out of the University of Richmond at Virginia State, being there for 2 years, wore a lot of hats there. Smaller staff size, so you kind of had to be a, do-it-all type of guy. Same thing at Norfolk State and throughout my career. I think that coming from that foundation and having, number one, the alumni base and being so passionate. I mean, you know how homecomings and everything are, and players that just want to play. They want to play football. They want to get a degree. They do it for the right reasons. But I think the people I was around, the players I had the opportunity to coach at those times was crucial in my development, being so young and figuring it out myself. There were some mistakes made along the way that maybe the spotlight wasn't on that I'm glad I, got out of my system back then. But yeah, I'm very grateful for where I started and where I'm continuing to go.
Yeah. Do you see this as a quick rebuild with the core pieces that you have in place and all the offseason strategies that you guys have in place, 2 first-round picks, free agency, things like that?
Yeah, I don't think we want to put any expectations on it in that regard. I think we just want to kind of take it day by day and do it the right way. So we're kind of just taking that approach. And we'll get our head out of the sand at some point, but right now we got tunnel vision on building things the right way.
And you've had pretty talented nickels at most of your spots in the NFL. How important is that piece to you?
Very important. Yeah, very important. That guy, he's a corner sometimes, he's a safety sometimes, he's a backer sometimes, he's a defensive end when he's blitzing. You want to have a guy who has natural instincts and ability to feel the game and play football. He's usually a guy who, if you were playing football on a Saturday afternoon in the neighborhood, he's your first-round draft pick, just because he feels the game naturally. So that's definitely an important dynamic of the defense.
Jane.
Coach, given the excitement of this hire, I couldn't help but notice that Jerry and Steven aren't here. Was that intentional?
You'd have to ask them. I know how excited they are, from the time that, we started this process. When Christian started Zoom, right, like we were tired. We'd done 8 Zooms in a couple days, right? And like I said, you're going through it and you're like, hey, I got grit, right, tattooed on. You got to stay in this thing. But the more he talked, like the more excitement it was. And, so the fact that they're not here doesn't mean anything. I know how excited they are. And from the time that we talked to them on Zoom to the time that we brought them in and met with them face to face, I think there was one part of the interview he didn't really like. We had him do a mock team meeting. He didn't really like that very much. He can maybe speak to that. But the excitement's real, and it's from top to bottom. It's from Jerry down to the staff and the guys that he's going to be looking over on the defensive staff are really excited.
Perhaps I'll be more direct. Is this, for all of us that are looking at this is a little different. Is that intentional in the sense that he wants to make this, give you a little bit more of the reins?
I don't think so. No, Jerry's very involved. You guys know that. But at the end of the day, this was a great hire for the Cowboys. We were all involved in it, and I wouldn't read too much the fact that he's not here.
I don't believe Jerry was here for this the last 2 times. Yeah.
All I'm saying is, given last year, I know that was a frustrating part of the team. I would assume that he'd want to be here for that. So.
Kevin.
Your former boss, Vic Fangio, once claimed that he had the secret to stopping the Cowboys. I wanted to know what you learned from him, and did he give you that secret?
You didn't tell us that in the interview.
From 2021, when we were in Denver, came here. Yeah. That was the completely different teams, completely different play callers. Everything was different. So, no, I think, I don't think that you're reading too much into that. That wasn't team specific.
What did you learn from him as a defensive coach?
I don't know if we have enough time for me to explain all that, to be honest with you. I mean, he just foundationally what he believes in, how he coaches, his consistency and his approach. He's done this for so long, but he's always evolved. He's always a step ahead. He studies everything around the league in the offseason. He coaches the coaches, but he also gives you the latitude to be responsible for your area. And he just, he's great. I've learned so much from him. I don't know if we have enough time for me to really get into all that, but he's significantly changed my career.
Scott.
Christian, are you a sideline guy or booth guy? And is there a philosophy behind whichever that'll be?
We've discussed that. I think we'll try some different methods. So I don't want to commit to anything in that regard.
Todd.
Shotty's talked about the Zooms that you've had. What was your impression of the Zooms, and were you trying to ask them as many questions as they were asking you as well, just to get your feel for what it is here?
Yeah, you could definitely tell it was a very involved and thorough process when we started it. That being the first step and kind of learning everybody and you learning the people that were on the other side of a call. I know sometimes it can feel a little weird because, you're just talking into the computer screen like that. But, you want the engagement. So, everybody's cameras were on. You had good eye contact. There was good dialogue back and forth. There were definitely questions asked in both directions. But you could definitely tell how thorough and aligned everybody was in the process.
And then when you got here for the in-person, what can you kind of take us in the room and what that was like?
Yeah, started off, did install, so, kind of had to go through, some schematic things and watching some film to detail that out. There were different people in the room for that. Then when you kind of get into the personnel side of things and kind of talking about players around the league, players on the roster here, players on the roster other places, and kind of how those things fit the mold of what you want to try to build and do, to then talking to, ownership in terms of the philosophy and vision that you have, and for current players and what you've done in certain areas that kind of can speak to the diversity and schematic expertise that you want to bring in leadership foundationally, to, doing the mock position meeting like he referenced, where they kind of just throw you to the wolves, tell you get in front of the room, and it's the first Monday of OTAs, and speak to us like we're the players, and just, kind of be able to do that on the fly. To talking about third down pressures and watching an explosive reel to kind of talk about corrections you can make there, to just having a one-on-one conversation, just make sure the philosophical alignment is there with technique and fundamentals and situational awareness. You touch it all. It was a long day, but it was a very worthwhile one.
And when you walked out, did you think I nailed it? Like, I got it, I did everything I wanted to do?
Yeah, I did. I felt I left, I was going back to the airport. I didn't feel like I had any regrets with how I handled the process.
John.
Shotty, you mentioned that players have been excited about the hire and you've had some interactions with them. Can you kind of go back the curtain there a little bit and maybe what some of those conversations and that excitement has been like from the player level?
Yeah, I think, well, first of all, before I even get into that, I think, when you go through a process like this, right, it's not just about the interactions. I can't tell you how many people, everyone involved called about Christian. And so you couldn't find anybody to say anything bad about CP, and even going to the people in Philadelphia, that we talked to, which we did, and they were like, man, we don't want to lose him, especially to you guys, but he's the best and all that stuff. And then, once the decision was made, whether it's Kenny Clark, who he had been around, or, Demo, guys that have been around the game, Quinnen Williams, and then he jumped on the phone with them quick too, because that's part of the deal, right? When you take a position like this, you have to reach out to the guys that carry the message for you, and it really is the players. And my point to bringing it up was how many guys have gone out of their way to come in town, come up and say hello. And that speaks volumes, because a lot of these guys are spread out all over the country dealing with different things, and there's definitely been a excitement brewing. And after they get a chance to visit with them, I get a chance to debrief them, and they're very excited.
To follow up on that, Christian, for these guys to kind of reach out to you and to kind of have that interaction already, what is the importance and the value in that, in establishing those relationships from the get-go?
Yeah, that's where it starts. That's the foundation of any type of successful operation, is the relationships and the trust, the alignment. So starting that process now, being able to kind of get to know the man first, mutually, and there's some football discussions that coincide with that as well. But just getting to build that relationship. Some guys you have prior relationships with. Some guys, you talked to at the combine 3 years ago or 2 years ago. Some guys they might have had a teammate that I've been around before too. So you have a common link. I think that's extremely important, the relationships that you build to create that foundation as we kind of start moving forward with everything else.
Okay, thanks everybody.
Thanks, guys.
Is that it? Man, I was hoping we was gonna get a little bit more. He seems to be, as it applies to talking to, the media, and this is one of the things I like already. He seems to be somebody that doesn't try to, he doesn't try to talk too much, doesn't try to use, um, just isn't a person of many words as it applies to the media. Seems to be somebody that's about his business from what I can tell so far. So I want to go back over some things that he said. I'm going to read some comments, and then I'm gonna go to my notes and see if we are on the same page about some of these things. Rombowski said, even if the magnetic tendencies draw Parker back to the DB room, it won't be the worst thing with this secondary. Yeah, Rombowski, I think he's going to be putting in some work with the Cowboys secondary. No doubt in my mind. Star Guardian X, he said, stay at 12, get downs if he falls to you. Probably not going to happen. But stranger things have happened. But I'll tell you this, don't go up there and get him, because you can't blow your draft on one player. Can't blow your draft on one player. There are too many good players in here for the Cowboys to get. If I'm the Cowboys, I just kind of I'm prepared. If I'm the Cowboys, I stay prepared to pull the trigger. If somebody calls me, I'm going to stay prepared to pull the trigger at all times. And if I'm the Cowboys, don't be afraid to pull the trigger either if you think you can get just a straight across trade. Star Guardian X said, Jerry and Steven aren't there. Love it. Yeah, we're going to mention that in a minute. I got something to say about that. Tristan York said, what up, G? Appreciate that super chat. He said, I honestly think they should keep both first-round picks. Not too often you have that opportunity. Both defense, they need an elite safety again. Yeah, I'm in agreement with you there. Keep those picks. JCT Slice, Philly is chaotic right now, and people are turning on Jalen. Appreciate that super chat. JCT Slice, I saw something yesterday where they are saying that Jalen Hurts is the most hated quarterback in the league or something to that effect. Thought that was pretty interesting. And I think one of the things with Jalen Hurts is I just think some people think he's too cool for school. I think that's one of the issues with him. I think they think he's too cool for school. Okay, let's kind of go to my screen here. And I want to go back to some of the things that was talked about with Christian Parker. These are the notes that I took. I got quite a few, so I'm going to try to roll through them as quickly as possible. But one of the things that really struck me was taking advantage of the Cowboys front seven. But again, okay, let me give you my first observation. First observation, no Jerry, no Steven. I thought that was very interesting. No Jerry, no Steven. And I think this is good. And I know Brian said don't look too much into that. And I totally understand. But I think it was very significant that it was only Jerry and Steven. And I say, even if we don't have to look into it, I do think it's I think this has kind of been a trend with Jerry and Steven over the last couple of years. Well, especially since they've hired Brian, they've kind of stepped back some and not be in so many interviews. Y'all might not remember this last year, but we were saying the same thing last year. I mean, it was a point in time until the Michael Parsons stuff came up. Jerry was dead silent. I mean, we didn't hear nothing from Jerry for about a month and a half. I mean, we were wondering where he was. Stephen Jones, pretty much same way. We didn't hear anything from them. So probably not that unusual, but I do think it's significant from this standpoint. They're not getting in the way. They don't want all the glory. It doesn't seem like they want all the glory. It seems like they're just trying to, okay, let's get this team thing. Y'all get this team thing, get this camaraderie thing, and let's try to have a quiet, drama-free offseason. We're going to see what happens with GP, George Pickens, but I don't think George Pickens is going to be a problem. I think the Cowboys are going to knock this out. So another observation that I made, I was pretty wowed by, was the fact that they interviewed 40 different coaches on Zoom. I was blown away by that. That is crazy. 40 different interviews? Wow. But I'll tell you another thing that was impressive to me. 40 different interviews. And the fact that Shotty said Jerry sat in on all 40. Pretty impressive. I like that comment because it really goes to show you that Jerry very involved. And I love the fact that Brian Schottenheimer, and I'm going to tell you what I said when the Cowboys first hired Brian. To me, Shotty is doing something that the other coaches were not able to do. Shotty works with Jerry and Stephen Jones. Shotty doesn't try to separate himself from the front office or separate himself from Jerry and Stephen. He doesn't try to make it like he's doing this and he's doing that and I got this and I got this kind of power. No, Brian just really kind of nonchalantly, he's really verifying what Jerry said. And this is why I say a lot of people give, and I understand why people don't like Jerry Jones sometimes, but sometimes people go overboard on the Jerry Jones hate. Brian is making it very, very clear. People were pushing back when Jerry said Matt Eberflus wouldn't have been here if Brian Schottenheimer was not on board. Well, Brian Schottenheimer is inadvertently coming back and verifying what Jerry said because it's obvious that Jerry was involved with every single interview that they gave. I think that's very important because let me give you the method to their madness. When you can work with someone, when you can work in collaboration with someone, there's a difference. Let me make the difference. There's a difference in working with and working and collaborating. There's a difference in working with and working with. You can work with somebody that you don't like, but it works better when you work with somebody who y'all are working together and collaborating. And so Brian continues to make it clear once again, no, we're not going to do this. And I'm going to tell you something. I appreciate Brian Schottenheimer so much for this. Do not be like a lot of this, the fan base. And I'm not hating on the fan base. And don't be like the media. They're always trying to, you can tell by the questions that the media ask. They're always trying to bring some kind of discord between the players and the owner, the coach and the owner. Somebody in the owner. They're always trying to bring discord. But the one thing I applaud Brian Schottenheimer for, and I said the same thing last year, Brian has found a way to work with the Joneses. He knows who they are, and he works with them. And I was telling people this even this past season, that people were pushing back. Brian Schottenheimer has been here since March 2022. If you don't think he's been all through that building, talking, communicating, getting some of his ideas out there, his opinions out there, all of that has got us to the point to where we are now. And this, for me, is telling me that Brian feels like his relationship with the Joneses. He trusts them, they trust him. He trusts them, they trust him. That is the relationship that you want. And that is what allowed this process. And that's the thing I give Brian Schottenheimer so much credit for. He's been able to do something to me that I don't know if we've seen since Jimmy. Jimmy and Jerry, when Jimmy first got here, Jimmy and Jerry were ace boon coon. Some of y'all might not know what that is in the city, in them city places. Ace Boone Coon. I mean, that's your partner, man. That's somebody you real tight with, you know, and you can talk about anything with and not get offended. But Jimmy and Jerry were Ace Boone Coon when they first got here. And Shotty seems to have developed a similar relationship. Okay, so let me go to my next point. I'm going to come back to this one. I want to pull up some diagrams again like we've done before. But I thought this one was significant. We now have clarification. The Cowboys are going to a 3-4 defense. He said there'll be some 4-3 spacing, and then he talked about a 4-2-5. Now, we talked about this before on what to expect from what to expect from 1CP, Chris Parker. And the 4-2-5, you might as well put a VF beside that. That's Vic Fangio. That's a Vic Fangio system. That 4-2-5, that's what Vic Fangio is famous for. It's kind of like you play quarters and cover two at the same time. And your goal in that 4-2-5 defense is you always want to make sure that you outnumber the people who are going out for passes. You outnumber them on each side of the ball. And so we can see also inside of this 3-4 defense, this is also proving another point of the philosophy that they're wanting Christian Parker to have that Matt Eberflus couldn't do. The 3-4 defense is because of this right here. Quentin Williams, KC Kenny Clark, and Osa Odighizuwa. That is why they are running this 3-4. Why? Because they got 3 ferocious 3-down linemen. This is proof again that they're building a system. They're saying, hey man, we got a pretty good front. We got a pretty good front in these three defensive tackles. So how do we get them on the field at the same time and use them as a strength, and at the same time still stay versatile enough to be able to defend the pass and stop the run? Well, that's where that 3-4 come in. And I also believe this is a situation where somebody looked at Donovan Ezaraku, because I think some of us were saying this even this past season. I always thought that Donovan Ezaraku, after watching him play, I said that if the Cowboys want to switch to a 3-4, Donovan Ezaraku is the perfect defensive end. He's a smaller defensive end. Undersized, whatever the case may be. I think he's going to fit perfect in a 3-4. And the crazy thing about Donovan Ezaraku this past season, man, Donovan Ezaraku was dynamite in stopping the run. Now, I don't want him to turn into another DeMarcus Lawrence, because we wanted DeMarcus Lawrence to be able to rush the passer, and he just couldn't fulfill that for us the way we wanted him to, towards the end. But I want Donovan Ezaraku to be able to do both of these. I want him to get back to how he was able to rush the passer in college, while at the same time being able to play in this 3-4 defense. This is another reason why I believe Jadeveon Clowney will get signed a little bit quicker, because I believe Jadeveon Clowney, with his athleticism, he's a long, slender type of defensive end. I think he's going to play well in the 3-4 sets also. We're also going to see where Sam Williams. I think Sam Williams may fit into this. So the Cowboys, he sounded like Brian Schottenheimer when he said he wants to be multiple. I never heard Matt Eberflus say that. I never heard him say he wanted to be multiple. So again, Jerry Jones, I said it before, said it on 40 interviews. Let me see what else here. They were talking about things that he liked about CP. The thing that kind of stuck out to me, he has his own convictions. And I'd already been saying this. So he's going to take the best things that he's gotten from other teams or other coaches over the years, and he's going to bring in what he wants to bring in. He's going to bring in what he wants to bring in. Oh, let me read a couple of comments as I'm going. Mose Logan, everybody's entitled to their opinion on this, but let me tell you something. I am not. Let me repeat. Anybody else can say anything they want to. I am not going to put Caleb Downs. And I'm going to tell you right now, and this is not against Mike Fisher, but I'm going to tell you this is borderline blasphemy. I am not putting Caleb Downs in the same conversation as Ed Reed, Woodson for the Cowboys, and Sean Taylor. Man, I don't even want to hear that kind of talk. I don't even want to hear that kind of talk. I'm not knocking Caleb Downs. I'm not hearing that kind of talk. You are talking about three freaks of nature. I'm not going for that kind of talk. Do people not understand that Woodson could play? Woodson is actually who Christian Parker described. Woodson, quick, fast. I think it was a 4.3, 4.4 40 guy somewhere in there. Woodson could play safety, cornerback. He could play everything. Safety, cornerback, linebacker. Could hold the fastest wide receivers, could hold running backs, could hold tight ends, and he would knock you into next week. Man, it is... I understand that we're talking about Caleb Downs, and I'm not going to tell you he's not a great player. Man, I'm not going to do that. I am not going to put him in the conversation with Woodson. I am not going to put him in the conversation with Reed. That's crazy. Sean Taylor? Stop it. Show me first. Show me first. You show me, and then I'll say, after watching him, I'll say, okay, I can see some things. Man, I'm not buying that by any stretch of the imagination. To compare anybody to those three, that's insanity. It's insanity. Ain't no way. And I'm not saying that against Mike Fisher. I'm saying that I don't care who said it. It's crazy. It's absolute, man, you're talking, boys. Man, I'm sorry. That's actually doing a disservice to Caleb Downs. That's doing a disservice to this young man. It's doing a disservice to him. No. The Cowboys should not blow an entire draft on Caleb Downs. Why would they do that? These 2 first-round picks for the Cowboys are pivotal. They are pivotal. You don't give up draft picks. You are not. It doesn't make sense to me to give up a 12 and a 20 to go get a 6 and a 39. Do what? Let me tell you something about any team. Because in order for you to get Caleb Downs, guess what? You have to pick up the phone. You have to pick up the phone. And you don't get to dictate the criteria for the deal if you pick up the phone. Because I'm going to tell you right now, you pick up the phone and call me about Caleb Downs, yeah, I want both of your first rounders. I want both of your first round picks, and I might give you a third. I don't even have to give you a second if you pick up the phone. I don't have to give you a second round draft pick. We're just acting like somebody's going to say, hey, you know what? Caleb Downs will really help the Cowboys. So let me help the Cowboys. No, Cowboys really want Caleb Downs. We are going to rake them over the coals. We want 2 first rounders, and we're not going to give you our second rounder. We'll give you this 6th, and we'll get you in the 3rd round. We'll give you a 3rd rounder. Ain't no way. The only way the Cowboys should get Caleb Downs is if Caleb Downs falls to the Cowboys. Because again, it doesn't make a lot of sense. It does not make a lot of sense. Again, this becomes the problem. And when people start thinking like this, they're not thinking right. When you start looking at, again, and this is my question, I ask anybody, I challenge anybody on this. Hindsight is 20/20. We don't know what Caleb Downs is truly going to be. Do we believe he's going to be a good safety, a great safety? Yes. But he still got to get in the right system. He still got to get on the right team. He's still got to have players around him too. We don't truly know what he's going to be. We're just kind of projecting, for example. But I still question Caleb Downs. How much better is he than Emmanuel Warren, Dylan Thieneman, A.J. Halsey, Kamari Ramsey? Caleb Downs, for example, for me, you should, if you're going to do what they're talking about the Cowboys are going to do for Caleb Downs, that's what a team does when they're possibly one or two players away. They've already went to the NFC or the AFC championship game. Their defense is really, really good. They just need a couple of players. Well, you don't care about giving up a draft or giving up a couple of first rounders or a first round this year and next year and a second this year and a first rounder, whatever the case may be, because you know that you're probably just one or two players away. But my question is, are we saying that Caleb Downs is that much better than the other 3 to 4 safeties below him, that if we were to get one of them, we still wouldn't improve his safety? That's my issue. If you could guarantee me he's going to be Woodson, if you could guarantee me he's going to be Darren Woodson, well, I would say, well, heck yeah, go ahead and trade up. But you can't guarantee me that. You cannot guarantee me he's going to be Darren Woodson, put you in the hospital when I hit you. You can't guarantee me that. So I'm not going to give up a 12 and a 20 to get Caleb Downs. I'll wait on Caleb Downs to fall to me. If Caleb Downs is there, we get him. If he's not there, we're moving on. If I'm the Cowboys, I'm moving on. Because for all we know, the Cowboys they may go in free agency and get a guy like Minkah Fitzpatrick. The Cowboys may very well go into free agency and get a proven commodity. We don't even know if the Cowboys are going to necessarily need safety in the draft. But let's say they were to go get a safety. And let's say they wanted another one. I'm still not trading up for Caleb Downs. I'm just not doing it. I'm not doing it. And I'm not going to mention him in the same conversation as Darren Woodson, Ed Reed, and Sean Taylor. Man, do we know who those players are? Stop it. I don't care what anyone says. Everybody's entitled to their opinion. I'm not going to condemn you for it. All I'm saying is that doesn't make sense. Because you're basically saying that you're banking on those players. And you can't be wrong. I'm telling you now, you can't be wrong about Caleb Downs if you trade up. You can't be wrong. I'm not doing it. If he falls, I get him. But if he doesn't fall, I'm not sweating it. I'm not concerned about having the best player at safety. I'm concerned about having the best team. And if I can get some of the best players, as in I don't have to have the best cornerback, but if you tell me I can get one of the top 3 cornerbacks, if I can get one of the top 3 safeties, one of the top 3 linebackers, one of the top 3 edge rushers, well, man, I'm feeling pretty good right now. If I'm the Cowboys, I'm feeling pretty good if you can tell me I can do that. So if I'm the Cowboys, I'm standing pat. I am not rolling on this thing that people are talking about like that with Caleb Downs. Brobowski said, gee, since COVID with modern technology, 40 interviews isn't as tasking as it sounds anymore. Not to mention they get paid beyond handsomely for their jobs too. Yeah, but other than Jerry Jones, I give Jerry credit because Brian was actually talking about, Jerry was actually digging in, talking about some football stuff. So I get what he's talking about. Yeah, I get what he's talking about. Dominique said, I can only speak for myself. I personally don't hate Jerry, but when it comes to football, he's terrible. He's a terrible GM. I struggle with terrible. I struggle with terrible because I don't think Jerry is terrible. Do I think he's good? I don't think Jerry is great, but I don't think he's terrible either. All right, let's see what else here. And let me continue on the list, and I'll continue to read some of the comments. Let me get a couple more comments in. Steve Campanella, he said, gee, Jerry Jones was in every interview because maybe it's true. When he said he was looking in the mirror and see where he was going wrong and needed to change, let's give Jerry credit, he's changing. Steve Campanella, let me tell you something. As a person who is in the business of, and I shouldn't say in the business of, but as a person who helps people turn their life around, this is one of the biggest things that people who try to turn their life around deal with. Because when they've had a long track record of being a certain way, people just won't give them the opportunity to change because they say he can't, that it's been too long, they can't change. You can change as long as there is breath in your body. You can change as long as there is breath in your body and you're able. And Jerry Jones gets the opportunity. For me, he gets the opportunity like anybody else. A tree is known by the fruit that it bears. Everything that I've seen from Jerry Jones since he hired Brian Schottenheimer, I'm going to tell you, it doesn't matter to me what anyone else thinks. I've liked around 85% of what Jerry has done. I've liked 85% of what Jerry has done. Skeptical about Matt Eberflus, didn't like that move. Jerry corrected that at the end of the season. He repented. Jerry traded Michael Parsons. I have no problem with Jerry trading Michael Parsons. Jerry waited too late to trade Michael Parsons. Even though I still say I credit Michael and David Mulugeta for playing the game, they didn't really start acting the fool until after the draft was over. But Jerry did some things wrong. Him and Michael both. But Jerry shouldn't have let Michael just take him for the okie doke and wound up getting Michael out of Dallas in the grand scheme of things. But I'm still not mad about Michael being gone. In the grand scheme of things, I'm glad because I don't like some of the things that I'm seeing from Michael Parsons once again. And I'm glad and don't want that stuff in Dallas. But for the most part, I liked a lot of things that Jerry did in 2024, in the 2025 season. I liked a whole bunch of things that Jerry did. All I can do is go by what a person does right now. And right now, Jerry Jones has done some really good things. Free agency, I'll give it about a B- looking back in the grand scheme of things. The draft, I would give it a solid B in the grand scheme of things. The Matt Eberflus hire, I would give it an F now looking back on it. But I still say in the grand scheme of things, I like a lot of things that Jerry Jones has done, and I'm going to give him the chance. I'm going to absolutely give Jerry the chance. Because in the grand scheme of things, even if I don't give him the chance, it's his team. He can do whatever the world he wants to do. But I'm going to give Jerry Jones the chance because Jerry Jones, to me, I've been saying this since last year and everybody was pushing back, but now I'm hearing everybody saying what I was saying. I said Jerry was moving different from the moment he hired Brian Schottenheimer. I said Jerry's moving different. And I still say Jerry is moving different. I think Jerry is doing some things, and I think he's doing some things on purpose. And not being at that press conference today, I believe Jerry Jones did that on purpose. Jerry did that on purpose. I just believe he did. I do believe that Jerry is focused on trying to get the Cowboys into the Super Bowl. I believe he's focused on it. Can I tell you why it took him 30 years to do it? I can't tell you why, other than I believe mortality is knocking on the door. Mortality is knocking on the door. But again, I thought it was significant that Jerry wasn't there. Again, going back to Christian Parker, y'all keep those comments coming. The thing that I like about Christian Parker, they said he had his own convictions. And I had already said this before. I figured that Christian Parker is going to take some things from those coaches that he's been with, and he's going to create his own defense and his own identity. And I am so happy the Cowboys are going to give him the opportunity to do that. Something else that I was impressed with, also, I was impressed with the issue of why he chose Dallas. He talked about the offense. He talked about the quarterback. He talked about the skill positions. And he also talked about the shared vision. Because the moment he said we wanted to be multiple, all I could think of was Brian Schottenheimer. That's all I could think of was Brian Schottenheimer. Now, I want to use Intelligent Savage's comment here. I think Intelligent Savage made a very good point. He said he loved the presser, G. Intelligent Savage, what's going on? I see them waves, man. You got some waves in your head in that. Boy, you got some serious. Oh, no, that's not. Where's a do-rag? What is that? A bandana? Boy, I thought them were waves. I see you. What's going on, Intelligent Savage? But I like the comment you made, nevertheless. He said, I love the presser, G. He said, Marcus Aurelius taught. Knowing he studied at the University of Richmond, coaching on an HBCU level of Virginia State and Norfolk State. He said, I'm all in and love hearing him speak defense. I'm all in. Now, this was also one of my points I made, one of the points that I like too. So one of the issues I like about, you got to think about when you go to an HBCU. In my undergraduate work, I went to a HBCU. And one thing when you go to a HBCU or you go to a small college, you will find out that if you take a job at one of those places, you're going to be doing multiple things. I mean, you get accustomed to doing multiple things. You wear multiple hats. You have to know what so many other people know. And so his HBCU background, it's not about him being black as much as it is about the adversity that you have to go through to be at a HBCU. Because at the HBCU I went to, as a matter of fact, one of my favorite instructors was a white instructor. And man, he did not play he did not play with no race stuff. He did not deal with that stuff. But he also understood the adversity of being in an HBCU, not having certain supplies, not having the big funding to do certain things that you would like to do. And so people will be surprised how when you are missing things, how it breeds creativity, how it makes you a more well-rounded person. So one of the takeaways I had was his confidence. He talked about how he was ready. He talked about where he came from. He talked about the diversity of scheme. He talked about what he took from Fangio. So those things for me were very, very powerful for me. I like how he touched on the focus on current players. I thought that was very interesting. The focus on current players of we got to focus on our current players and make sure we get them up to speed on this and that and this and that. I was very excited about him saying that. So I really, really, really like that approach. That approach that he had, because I believe the Cowboys had a conversation with him of, we got some players that we believe that can play this game. So what can you do to get them to where you want them to be? Let me read a couple more comments. Queen said Jerry and Steven wasn't there, so no one would question them on GP. I'm not sure on that, Queen. Even though I do agree there probably would have been some GP questions. Could have asked Brian Schottenheimer about those, though. I will say for the most part, even though I thought Clarence Hill was asking some very squirmish questions, I believe for the most part, people probably would have stayed away from it for the most part. But I don't think that's the main reason why they were not there, because they did some of these same things last year. Tony Nichols said, gee, you're just a nobody trying to tell everybody about somebody who can save somebody. Yes, sir, Tony Nichols. To God be the glory. Junior, what up, Junior? Junior said they don't have to be thirsty for downs. The safety from Oregon is good and can be got at 20 if they handle free agency correctly. I agree. And I'm telling you, man, if I'm the Cowboys, I'm not going to chase players. If I'm the Cowboys, I'm not chasing players. And a lot of these, I'm just going to say, as I hear certain people talk out there in the stratosphere, they're always trying to get the Cowboys to sell out on certain things. And it's like, man, y'all not talking right. These are the same people who want the Cowboys to move up and get Caleb Downs. Those are the same people that's also telling y'all the Cowboys shouldn't sign George Pickens to a long-term deal and they should let him play out the franchise tag. I'm not. I can't and I'm not. I can't and I'm not. I can't and I'm not. When I hear people talk like that, they're talking like impulsive people. I'm talking, at least in my mind, I'm talking like somebody who wants the Cowboys to go to the Super Bowl. I'm not concerned. The Cowboys have done this over and over and over, having the best player at a certain position. And then we think that certain player at a certain position is going to turn the whole defense around, and they don't. I don't think the Cowboys should be chasing a player. The Cowboys need to stay focused, and they need to be very strategic with that 12 and that 15. Wait on, see how everything's going in front of you, and you can go one or two ways with that number 12 pick. You can either say, we're going to stand pat, because I think if you don't trade back, stand pat. Okay, well, the player that we want is right here. Let's get him. Caleb Downs failed to us. Let's get him. But if we can get the player that we want and go back 2 or 3 spots, let's see if somebody calls. And if they do, let's trade back. But again, stay by the phone, stay on the phone, try to stay in the know, kind of see the temperature of the draft. And when you can, you make moves. You make moves. But again, I still don't think the draft is the issue. The issue for me is free agency. Because the free agency can solve a lot of your problems. Bass said Clowney can eat and don't know Easy can eat. I agree. Chanel said, gee, Easy is just a linebacker. He can't play DN. He will be an inside linebacker. And you know what's crazy, Chanel? This may be the very thing the Cowboys looked at. They probably looked at the 3 down and the 3 defensive tackles. They looked at Donovan Ezeraku and his production, and I believe they probably said, hey, you know what? We could probably turn into a 3-4 defense. And they went out there and got them a coach who could do a 3-4 defense. I think it's a good move. Sub-Zero, I cannot help but agree with you. I do believe they are trying to stay away from drama this year. I believe it. I believe it. Bass said personally he wouldn't be surprised if Sam Williams was back. Unfortunately, I'm not going to be surprised either. Well, Ben Roboski said Sam Williams, man, I think he might be back. Chanel said Chubb is better than Clowney. And when CP plays penny scheme, Chubb would eat that scheme. Man, I hope they get Chubb. See, for me, let's think about Chubb. Chubb is a prime example of what I'm talking about. Don't chase Max Crosby with first-round draft picks. You don't have to sign Trey Hendrickson to some kind of monster deal. You don't even have to go out there and compete with Philly to get Jalen Phillips. Why not go for Chubb? Why not go for Chubb? Don't chase the best players. Chase good to great players that will fit in your scheme. Let your players fit in your scheme. Let me get a couple more points in, and I'm going to go to the super chat we got over here. I like the next thing I liked is when GP talked about teaching. He talked about know your players. I love the fact that he talked about multiple ways of teaching. I wish he would have talked more about his own coaching staff. I wish he would have talked more about his own coaching staff. Maybe we'll get that in another interview. But I also like when he talked about teaching schemes. Now, no shot for all of the Trayvon Diggs fans that may be out there. No shot at Micah Parsons for all the Micah Parsons fans that may be out there. No shot at the Marcus Lawrence fans that may be out there. But I'm going to tell you something if you didn't catch it. Christian Parker said something major in the conversation about schemes and players. I don't know if you caught this. He says he said he doesn't mind designing or basically making sure the scheme is designed for players. Well, the 3-4 defense is already telling us that. This is why they're running that 3-4 defense. Number 2, he said build the scheme around talent. But, this was the PowerPoint. He also said they want guys who can play multiple schemes. As in, they don't want a guy that can only play man. Y'all remember people applauding? Oh, yeah, Trayvon Diggs was right. He wouldn't be right under Christian Parker. He wouldn't be right under Christian Parker. And I said this even when Trayvon Diggs said this. I said Trayvon Diggs was right about himself. I don't believe he was right about the rest of the team because I don't think the rest of the defense was built to play man-to-man. And Christian Parker, in his scheme, he doesn't run predominantly. Vic Fangio doesn't run predominantly man-to-man. It's not what Fangio runs. It's not how they do things. I thought it was pivotal. He said the great players are not pinned down to one type of scheme. You can move them, and I'm paraphrasing, but he said you can move them from scheme to scheme to scheme, or basically formation to formation to formation. I love when he said that. The Cowboys don't need what they had here the last 3 to 4 years, players complaining about they can't play in the scheme or talking about the scheme that they want to play in. Man, we don't need no more of that talk. We don't need no more of that talk. You need, if you're going to be multiple, you need multiple players. You need players that can play multiple. You need players with multiple ability. And I even said this during the season. Man, tell me anything you want to. I'm not paying a cornerback $20 million that can't play both zone and man. Not me. I mean, somebody else can. I ain't tripping. I'm just telling you about me. If I'm looking at getting a cornerback, I'm not going and get the cornerback that can only play man defense, especially in this league when there are teams that will put you in a headlock and they will absolutely force you to go to zone. They'll force you to do it. Not to mention if you want to run, if you want to disguise your looks. Maybe you want to disguise your look and say, hey, we're going to look like we're going to play man and then we're going to drop in the zone, or we're going to just look like we're going to play zone and then we're going to blitz or do whatever we do and then we're going to play man. Man, I want somebody that can do multiple. I want somebody that can do multiple. If I'm going to run multiple, if I'm going to be a multiple defense, run multiple schemes, I want players that can play in multiple schemes. And I thought it was important when he said that. Another thing I was impressed with was his principles. And again, I love the fact that he talked about 2 things that stood out to me when he said, stop the run and stay out of 3rd and short. When you let a team get in 3rd and short, you really allow that team so much flexibility. Man, it's hard to stop teams in 3rd and short, especially on a consistent basis. You got to get them in 3rd and longs. You have got to get them in 3rd and longs. Hold on a second. $20 super chat from my man Junior. Appreciate you, Junior. Junior said the focus on current players is extremely important. The NFL is not Madden. They're not going to overhaul the entire defense. It's not feasible. You have to be able to get the best out of who you have. Junior, I believe in the interview process. This was a very serious conversation for anybody they interviewed. I believe the Cowboys believe they are truly about 4 to 5 players off. They believe between Quinnen, Osa, Kenny, Ezraku, Clowney, Houston. I don't know what they're going to do with Sam Williams. We'll see. Maybe they're going to see if he can be coached, and maybe they don't cut him to the end of training camp. Sam Williams, whoever they bring in free agency, Donovan Ezraku, possibly Logan Wilson. I wouldn't be surprised if the Cowboys even see what Kenneth Murray Jr. is. But when you look at Savon Revel Jr., Deron Bland, the Cowboys believe they probably have about 6 players on defense that they want to roll with. And they need to go out and get the other 5. And so I guarantee you, Junior, the conversation was, what do you think you can do with that front 5? What do you think you can do with Demarion Overshown? What do you think you can do with Deron Bland? What do you think you can do with Savon Revel Jr.? And so I like the fact that he talked about that. Star Guardian X. Appreciate that super chat. Yeah. Star Guardian X, I made the same point last week. Look at Seattle's defense. Not one stud superstar player in sight. Just good players everywhere. Let's get active in free agency, Jerry. This is the key for me. This is why from the Cowboys, I'm not chasing Caleb Downs. Cowboys don't need to be chasing Caleb Downs. You're banking too much on one player. Do your homework. Do your homework. And look at that. Look at this draft. And don't be, man, I got to have the best player at this position. No. I want to examine the top 3 to 4 players in every position that I need. So if one is gone, I'm going to get the other one. And my goal is, and how do they fit into my system? Can they be good in my system? That's all I'm concerned about. I'm sorry, but Caleb Downs, drafting Caleb Downs does not guarantee the Cowboys a Super Bowl. It brings some excitement, but it doesn't guarantee a Super Bowl. And so for me, I'm done with the excitement. I'm done with the excitement. I'm not looking for the excitement no more. I'm looking for, can you get us the best team? That's all I'm looking for. Can you get us the best team? Can you get us some dogs? That's all I'm concerned about. Can you get us some surefire dogs? Caleb Downs fall to you, get him. But if he doesn't fall to you, I'm not mad either. Just go in there and get you another good to great player. Intelligent Savage said Darren Woodson was that guy, ladies and gentlemen, for sure. Man, to even put Caleb Downs in the conversation is insane to me. It's insane to me. It's insane to me. Man, I'm not deep. Man, I wouldn't dare try to put that man in the same conversation. Man, I wouldn't dare try to put that man in the same conversation as Darren Woodson, Ed Reed. Man, that is not a reason to go after Caleb Downs. The reason to go after Caleb Downs is if he falls to number 12. He falls to 12 and you don't get him, then I'm going to have a problem. He falls to 12 and you don't get him, I'm going to have a problem. But I don't want the Cowboys going up in the draft because you're basically going to blow day one. Don't blow day one. Do not blow day one. Don't do it. That's all I'm saying, and I hope the Cowboys are really considering this. Don't blow day one. Don't do it. Go in free agency first and do your due diligence in free agency. All right, let me talk about a couple of current players. I like what he said about Savon Revel Jr. He talked about he could play press. He could take away receivers. He's long. He's lean. And I'm going to tell you this right now. I believe Savon Revel Jr. was playing. I don't think he was playing confident because he was coming off that knee injury. I believe Savon Revel Jr. is going to take a step this year that is going to be incredible, and he's going to look like he looked at the EC, more like he looked at ECU. Bland, he talked about the instincts of DaRon Bland. I also believe DaRon Bland will thrive inside of the Vic Fangio / Christian Parker type of system. I think Bland is going to absolutely thrive in that. Let's see. He talked about he talked about defensive identity. Okay, let's see. CP's why. And I love he's not a man of many words. He just said he loves everything about the game for the most part. He loves everything about the game. I love that. I love this quote right here because I've used a similar quote. He says, great players make good coaches. Great players make good coaches. Y'all might not remember this, but I told y'all this even during the season. Great players make average plays look great. Great players make average plays look great. And this is why one of the things I want to see from Brian Schottenheimer as Brian Schottenheimer comes into his own as a play caller, because I just think that's what he's going to be for this team. He's going to continue to be the play caller. But one of the things that I want to see from Brian Schottenheimer is I want Brian Schottenheimer to come into his own in 2026. I don't think he was a great play caller in 2026. I think Brian was an average play caller. But because of the players he has, as in Dak Prescott, Pickens, Lamb, Javonte, Flanoy, when you look at all the weapons he has, it's because of those players. They did some of the damage they did. But I want him to come back this year. Now that he knows what he has, I want him to come back this year and do what they say he did for the Cowboys in 2023. I want him to add wrinkles. I want him to add motion. I want him to add crazy formations. I want him to get versatile in the running back room to where it's not just a power run game, but I want you to get us an outside run game, a screen game. I want you to get us, if you're going to be multiple, be multiple. I want to see you acclimate every single element that you have on your team. Because the one thing that Brian Schottenheimer did not do well to me this past year is that I don't think he was able to utilize all the talent. I think they tried to make Kevontae Turpin into something that he was not. I want them to go back to the basics as far as the players go. I want Flanoy to be the third wide receiver, and I want Turpin to go back to what he was before. I want him to go back to the gadget guy. I want him to be the guy that just runs past the coverage, takes guys out of the middle of the field, and let's get this thing working. I want him to do some amazing things this year. And I'm saying all of that to say, because Christian Parker is basically saying that if you get great players and you coach them, they'll make the coaches look good. They'll make the coaches look good. And so I believe we got us a teacher. Now we just got to make sure we teach some of these players and help them to be the best players that they can get. Be the best players that they can be. 72 Chevelle, this is one of the things that I'm counting on. 72 Chevelle said we'll have less rotation on defense. I thought that was one of the dumbest things they did the entire year. We'll have less rotation on defense until scheme changes on defense and four more safeties in the draft, but free agency comes first. Yeah. I hope they don't do that again. Slimy Fat Dude said take McNeil Warren at 20th if you can't get Downs at 12th. Yeah. And that's why I say if the Cowboys, man, the draft is not over if the Cowboys don't get Caleb Downs. And I think the guy the other day, I actually think he asked a great question when Woolchuck was talking about this. When Woolchuck was talking about this over on 105.3 The Fed, he basically, he was literally scratching his head. When you look at the mock draft, this guy was literally scratching his head on Woolchuck. Because at the end of the day, Explain to me again, why would they trade you for Caleb Downs? Why would they do it? They were talking about, for example, the Cleveland Browns. Man, the Cleveland Browns got so many picks. If the Cleveland Browns can get Caleb Downs, they're probably going to get him themselves. And if the Browns don't get him, he don't make it past the Washington Commanders. I don't think he makes it past anybody in front of the Cowboys, because the longer he stays on the board, other teams will change their board up too. Other teams will change their board up too. And so the issue is, you'd have to make, what the Browns would have to make sure of is that if they were to trade, let's say they traded and say, okay, Cowboys get Caleb Downs. Well, what does that do for the player they wanted? So now they got to make sure they're going to be able to get the player that they want also in this draft. Because if they don't get the guy who they maybe had before, maybe somebody picks that guy up. It's going to be a chess match in the draft. But my main concern for the Cowboys is free agency. It is free agency. Because again, I think there's a conversation what if Jeremiah Love was there? Well, what if Jeremiah Love would happen to fall to 12? Boy, that would be hard to turn down. Rumbowski said, I'm not even making a move up like that for a wide receiver because they aren't getting their hands on the ball as often as quarterback. Okay, y'all probably having a different conversation. Okay, so let's continue on some of the things that I liked in this particular press conference. Appreciate y'all rocking with me. I thought it was very amusing that CP said that he did not watch Hard Knocks. I thought that was pretty funny. He also said that he watched the Cowboys and his gamblers. There was also another takeaway that I thought was pretty funny when he said that when he walked away from the interview and got on the plane, he said he felt like that he had done his job or did his best. And so he wasn't concerned, and he probably felt like he had the job. So I thought that was very interesting. And again, I had to put this in here twice because I still say Brian Schottenheimer is doing something that I think that his predecessors did not do well. Shotty works very well with Jerry Jones. And Jerry Jones, and understand what Shotty is doing. I also believe that Shotty is playing a powerful psychological game. I think he's playing a powerful psychological game. If you will give Jerry his flowers, you won't have to worry about Jerry Jones trying to pick his own flowers as much. This is where Jimmy made a vital mistake, and I'm calling it a mistake. Jimmy was so arrogant. Him and Jerry both are very arrogant. Jimmy was so arrogant, he wanted all the credit. You don't get all the credit, Jimmy. You don't get all the credit. You always give the person credit who gives you the opportunity. I don't care if I'm working for somebody and I'm doing this, that, and the other. I got a great department and I'm just killing it and I'm leading in sales, whatever the case may be. Far be it from me that when people start talking to me about what we've done, that I'm not going to give the manager who is above me credit. Why would I not give the manager who is above me credit if he's the one that hired me and gave me the opportunity? You always want to give people credit. And in actuality, if you're really wise, you're going to give everybody you're going to give the glory to God. You're going to give the credit to people around you. You're going to sing the praises of people around you. Let another man sing thy praise. Shotty is doing something that I believe is very psychological. Give Jerry flowers, and Jerry won't seek his own flowers as much. And so I think the collaboration piece that he talked about, I'm sorry, I am giving that 5 stars. I am absolutely giving that 5 stars. And I love how he shot down every single time. Trying to make it into controversy. No, heck no. Brian said, nah, we ain't going there today. Heck no. No. He said, we're not going there. No. Jerry has been very pivotal in the process. And just the fact that Jerry let Brian do what he did. Just the fact that he let him do what he did. Come on, man. Come on, give him credit. That's all I'm saying. Just give him credit. And so I think what Brian is doing, very psychological. Very psychological warfare. Give Jerry his credit. And this is what I believe Brian, again, has done a great job of. He's never tried to keep Jerry out of the loop. Brian has always made sure he's kept Jerry in the loop, no matter what anyone says. Brian has always, and I think sometimes he does this to a fault. You know, when you talk about how he talked about Kenneth Murray Jr., how he talked about Matt Eberflus somewhat during the season. But I think it's very important when it comes to Jerry Jones. I think what he's doing is very smart. I really do. Give Jerry his flowers so he don't try and pick his own. I love it. I love it. I love what he did. All right, so let's get up here next. Did Jerry promise the last picks? Did Jerry promise the first 2 picks? I like when he said, I like this question, even though I thought it was kind of crazy. Did Jerry promise? This came from Clarence Hill. He had me laughing. Clarence Hill said that Jerry promised the first 2 picks in the draft would be defense. Well, I thought this was funny, man. I thought this was funny. But I also liked the reaction. And I don't want to read too much into the reaction, but it was really funny. Shotty's reaction was, thank God. Now, I don't want to say that it's a possibility that one of those 2 first-round picks could be could be offense, because the only position on offense I believe the Cowboys could even think about going would be tackle. And I don't even want to imagine that. I do not want to go through this whole offensive line thing again. This offensive and defensive line thing again. That's why I was kind of laughing at Shotty's reaction. But I also thought something that Christian Parker said was kind of, I don't know if I would say it was telling, but he kind of said that goes without saying. He kind of said that goes without saying. That, of course, you're going to get players. So I thought that was very interesting. Another issue that I kind of gathered from what he was saying, OTAs and training camp are going to be pivotal for this team. That's where they're going to do a lot of their teaching. Yeah, they're going to do a lot of that. They're going to do a lot of that teaching. I also like the fact when they talked about his educational background, political science, debates, reasoning, art of war. It really goes to show you that the fact that he is a political science major, it goes to show you that he's a thinker. And I absolutely like that. I absolutely like the fact that he's a thinker. Lock and D said aggressive scheme 3-4 coming in. Yeah. Yep. Rising Star, he said, what 2 picks do you consider will change the Cowboys defense? I think all of them. Hey, Rising Star, I think all of them. I think all of them. I think all of the picks are going to change the defense. I don't think it's just going to be 2. Of course, those first 2 picks are going to be pivotal, but also what they do with those other picks. They're going to be pivotal too. Because I do believe you're going to have to create some depth on your team in the later rounds of the draft. You're going to create some depth defensively. Man, I'm going to tell you now, Brandon Aubrey and George Pickens may very well be the only offensive players that we get, unless you're talking about undrafted free agents and maybe some offensive player late in the draft. I just don't think they're going to do anything on offense. So again, I appreciate that question because I think it's going to be offense. I think it's going to be defense. I do. I think it's going to be defense. Paul Lander said, I just listened to the press conference, man. I feel a whole lot better just the way he presents himself. I think there's going to be a big change coming up for next season. And you know, one of the takeaways too, and I don't think I wrote it down, he didn't make a lot of big promises. I love that about him. He didn't make a lot of promises. He really didn't. He didn't make a lot of promises. You know, he just kind of like, you know, we're not going to put those kind of expectations on this team. We're going to go into OTAs, training camp. We're going to, you know, get our work in. And as far as the players go, we'll see what happens in free agency and the draft. We're going to go from there. But I'll tell you something else that I'm kind of thinking that's going to help this team is that Brian Schottenheimer is the elder statesman of the team now. I really do believe this is a place where Brian probably struggled. And I think it might have been a struggle because of Matt Eberflus's age, his stubbornness. I think there might have been a lot of pushback, a difference in philosophy. Man, it's not that you can't manage someone older. That's not the issue because I've managed people older. When it becomes a problem, managing older people is when they are set in their ways and they won't listen and they think they know how to do it better than you. And they don't, and even if they listen to your input, they're not hearing your input. And so when you get them to make changes, they still are reluctant to make those changes permanent. And every opportunity they get, they'll try to fold back into what they were. I really think Brian I think there was a power struggle of some sort. I think there was a power struggle between Brian Schottenheimer and Matt Eberflus. And I think Brian Schottenheimer outsmarted him. I really do. I think Brian outsmarted him. And the way Brian outsmarted Matt Eberflus is Brian Schottenheimer outworked Matt Eberflus. I think that's how he was able to turn the tide on Matt Eberflus. So with Schotty now seemingly being pretty much the oldest coach on the team in a sense, I think you're going to have a team that it's a lot, the coaches are a lot younger. And I think similar to the players, the coaching staff is going to look to Schotty kind of like that father figure, that go-to figure. Like, no, we know he's the coach. There's not going to be any kind of emotional power struggles. There's not going to be any frustrations about a lack of flexibility and watching someone just flat out disrespect the coach subliminally just by not listening or whatever the case may be. Not going to have to worry about players fighting back against the coaches. This is a great move, as in getting, at least for me, I just think it's a great move to have a younger coaching staff with Brian Schottenheimer. I really do. I really do. I think it's a great thing they're doing. Also, they tried to ask him about draft priority. I love the fact, didn't let anything out of the bag. But I also love this statement he made. I thought this statement was powerful. He talked about as in when you're putting together your game plan or your scheme, he said putting it together with easily digestible language. Another PowerPoint. Another PowerPoint. One of the things that I did, for example, in my undergraduate work studying Greek, getting a book like Greek Made Easy, finding a person that can explain complicated concepts into Google Gaga and make them simple to where pretty much anybody can get it. I think that's powerful. And so that easily digestible language is he's going to be explaining probably some very complicated concepts, but making those very simple. So I love that language that he used right there. Again, just going back to what I said before, where players promised and Christian Parker just like, man, that's a given. And I think he kind of made that like, that's just kind of what you do. Again, I've already hit on the HBCU point. He was also talking about, if I'm not mistaken, a certain player or a nickel player that you have that you move all around, whether it's to stop the run, whether it's to blitz, whether it's to drop back in pass coverage. I believe that player could be Demarion Overshown. I think he's that kind of player. And I think this is one of the mistakes that Matt Eberflus made. Matt Eberflus did not use Demarion Overshown as dynamically as he should have. I thought this was a huge mistake. Yeah, I thought that was a huge mistake by Matt Eberflus. Keek said, gee, I found it interesting when Shotty said he kept Parker in his black book like Clayton Adams. If that's the case, Eberflus was on the Joneses. Yeah, I thought it was interesting, but I also think there's a part of that where, again, I think he was also in the building when they was talking about. I don't think he had a problem in the grand scheme of things with Matt Eberflus. I think just like everybody else, and Keith, you could very well be right, but this is kind of where I see it with Matt Eberflus. I think Brian was like everyone else. I think he believed, because nobody was pushing back on Matt Eberflus when he first got here. I don't think he thought it was a problem until they started playing the games. And when they started playing the games, I think that's when the problem came. But by that time, it was too late. They're already in the season now when it's too late. So, again, I don't think he had a problem with Matt Eberflus in the beginning. I think that problem developed. I think that's what happened with Matt Eberflus. But again, I don't think it's necessarily that it's on the Joneses, but I do think he had a backup plan. I think he had a backup plan just in case it didn't work out. Because, when you start putting down a list of coaches, you're probably not just putting down one coach. You're probably putting down multiple coaches that if you were to be able to get it and these coaches were available, these are the coaches you would get. For all we know, Matt Eberflus could have been one of those coaches too. Let's see. Okay, let me see the rest as I close out here. I love what he said. Again, Brian Schottenheimer does a very good job of giving Jerry Jones and this staff flowers. He said the staff is excited about Christian Parker from top to bottom. Again, I love how he kept knocking down this thing about Jerry and Steven. And if what Queen is saying is correct, that they didn't want to answer GP questions, I also think that's a smart move. I don't think that's a bad move. I think it's a smart move. Queen, you tell me what you think. I think it's a smart move that the Joneses, if that's one of the reasons why they were not there, I think it's a smart move. Why take away from Christian Parker's thunder by fielding questions? Because you already know if Clarence Hill is in the dog. If Clarence Hill is out there and some of these others, if they're out there, they would, hey, this question is for Jerry. What's the deal? They probably would have asked about George Pickens. So I agree with you on that, Queen. But again, Queen, tell me what you think. I think it's a smart move if that's one of the reasons why they did it. Again, I love how he talked about he learned from Fangio and multiple coaches that he's been around. Now, I thought this was very interesting. Was he going to be a booth or a field guy? He said he didn't have a commitment on it yet. So I'm very interested to see what direction does he take on this. But again, last two things that he said, as far as I took notes on, he said that the players were excited about Christian Parker. I believe that to be true. Players are excited about Christian Parker. And I like how he said that no matter who he talked to about Christian Parker, everybody had nothing but glowing things to say. I think that is absolutely beautiful. And I'll just give you my overall takeaway from this. I had this takeaway when they first hired him, but I think he is exactly what they needed defense. Modern defense. It's going to be a modern defense. It's going to be a multiple defense, and it's going to be a defense that's going to disguise a lot of the things that it's going to do. I love all of that. All of that. All of that. I love it. I love it. I love it. Let me read some of you guys' comments here at the end. Sub-Zero said Diggs will be lucky if he gets a job this season. Shot his shoes outside of a stadium. Sub-Zero, let me tell you something. I believe that Trayvon Diggs is going to get his next opportunity. If Trayvon Diggs can be healthy, he will get another opportunity, because good cornerbacks, people just hunt good cornerbacks. And if he can be good, I'm telling you, if he can just be good, and if he can get in the right system, I think Diggs will get another shot. Bet said he said he heard the word multiple. Keyword was multiple. He said be cerebral enough to be able to be versatile or multidimensional. I think this is what Matt Eberflus was missing. And again, me and Rumbowski used to joke about this. I forgot what Rumbowski used to say about Matt Eberflus. But I think we were both kind of along the lines that Matt Eberflus seems to be one of them type of people. You look at him and you like, he finna do your taxes. He don't look like he about to coach football. He don't like he about to coach football. So, I think one of the things with Matt Eberflus, man, he was just stuck in his ways, and I think it was a challenge for Shotty, especially with the respect level that Shotty had for him and him being an older person. But I could be totally wrong. Bad said we know who's not that curly on this team, so yeah, bringing in players, yeah, no doubt, got to bring in some players. Sub-Zero says, simply put, we need dogs that will fight for their brothers, not guys that are one-trick ponies and only care for their stats. Agreed. Comedian Alabama, what's going on with you, fam? What's going on with you? He said, gee, as soon as Dallas gives up a first down, he said fans are going to turn on him. Well, you know what? I'm going to say this. I think he's not going to have that. I'm sorry. Got to laugh about that. Comedian Alabama. I really think Christian Parker is going to turn the Cowboys defense around faster, because Brian Schottenheimer, I still say, made a vital mistake. There were two mistakes made by Jerry Jones, Brian Schottenheimer, and Matt Eberflus in the 2025 season. One, Jerry Jones hired Matt Eberflus. Two, the Cowboys, let me go back. There's probably multiple mistakes they made. One, Jerry hired Matt Eberflus. Two, he traded Micah Parsons too late in the cycle. Three, they implemented or started trying to implement the defensive scheme the first game of the season rather than working on it all through OTAs and training camp. Huge mistake, man. Huge mistake. Huge mistake. Should have never did that. They're going to hit the ground running in OTAs and training camp, and they're going to let Christian Parker start teaching immediately. They're not going to make that mistake again. What's going on, Dutton? He said, what's your input in the free agency offseason? Do you see Pickens signing during the combine and addressing defense and free agency? No doubt. So they can get BP in the draft. Do you see trades happening? I don't know if I see any trades happening because the Cowboys don't have much to trade. The only thing the Cowboys could be trading at this point is the first round draft picks, because the other draft picks the Cowboys have left are they're not even attractive. They're not attractive. So the only thing they could be trading, so I don't think it's going to be trading. Sass Dutton. Asa Dutton, I think what it is, it's going to be free agency in the draft. I just don't see what else they can trade. I'm telling you now, my prayer is the Cowboys don't even bother franchising George Pickens. My prayer is the Cowboys do something that catapults this offseason into the stratosphere. Sign George Pickens before March 3rd. Don't even worry about a franchise tag. That's where I would be. Robert Dudley, let go of Max Crosby. Oh, let's go get Max Crosby. Don't think that's going to happen. Yeah, I don't think that's going to happen. I think he's going to be too much for the Cowboys. Jeremy Best said they better do away with the one-minded safeties. That's our weaknesses of the defense and has been for about 20 years. I don't know. They can't keep both of those. They can't keep both of those safeties. Dominique said he just got mad. He mentioned Murray. Man, I'm telling y'all, I wouldn't be surprised if they give Murray a chance and maybe they don't cut him into training camp or somewhere in there. Blue Bloods, what's going on? What's going on? What's cracking? Good to see you. Frank Lawrence said Diggs got paid, got his mind screwed up thinking about that blue injury tent and changed into designer clothes to hit the clubs. Yeah, Blue Blood. I agree with you. There are at least 5 good safeties in this draft. We don't have to go chase Caleb Downs. Caleb Downs fall to us. If they don't get Caleb Downs and he fall to us, then I'm man. But other than that, nah. I'm not going to be tripping on that. Jeremy said, I mean, they probably got a plan for another player as safety. I believe they do. Mose Logan, I think they think that Sam might be okay. Like you said, he's coming off a nasty injury. I think they say he might be better with these coaches. I wouldn't be surprised if they keep Sam. I really wouldn't be surprised if they keep Sam. I wouldn't. Robert Dudley said, the more versatile you are in life, the more value you add to a team or resumes. Straight up facts. Cowboy fan Kevo, he said, I still can't get over that Seattle game where Bland got smoked by DK Metcalf for over 200 yards. Cowboy fan Kevo, why you got to go back to the Seattle game? Man, what about the Arizona Cardinals game? Boy, I believe in that. I'm going to tell you that. I believe in that Arizona. I believe that Arizona Cardinals game. I think that's when the screw came out of Deron Bland's foot. I think that's when that screw came out of his foot. Because, man, I am telling you, bro, he got roasted and toasted in that Arizona Cardinals game this season. Frank Lawrence said Michael Cancer happy he got a big contract. Oh, happy Cancer happy he got a big contract, belongs to Green Bay. Guy's not even on the team, still trying to create drama for the Dallas Cowboys. Yeah, man, Michael's out there, bro. Right now, he got his latest thing with Skip Bayless. I just don't like that kind of conversation, man. Excuse me. I mean, I don't like that kind of stuff. With it's just like unnecessary noise. I mean, I wouldn't even pay attention to Skip Bayless. Sub-Zero said, I hope that if this team turns into what I think and hope it does, that Jerry changes and pays to keep Shoddy and CP. Remember, there is no cap on coaches. Let me tell you something, Sub-Zero Prime. There were a lot of people who really like Christian Parker. I think that if Brian Schottenheimer gets a Super Bowl here, Brian's going to be here as long as he wants to. Yeah, he's going to be here as long as he wants to. Yeah, Robert Dudley, a little premature to vindicate Downs. To compare Downs to Woodson and Reed. Man, boy, people got to stop playing. I don't even understand people who saw those dudes play make those kind of comparisons. I got to see him play a season. Larry Golden said, that's why there's no I in the word team. A team will get you to the Super Bowl, not one person only. Yeah, that's why I'm focused. I mean, it's not like I'm going to be picking, but I want the Cowboys to focus on the best team. Frank Lawrence said, yeah, Shotty, maybe he's the one who can influence Jerry to spend appropriately in free agency. Time will tell. Let me tell you something, Frank Lawrence. I believe not only that he is, I also think the Cowboys are going to get Christian Parker everything that he wants, or as much as they can. Yeah, Christian Parker's come to the Cowboys at the right time. Big Rombowski said, that's something I'll agree with. Shotty definitely has a personality to deal with a wealthy boss like Jerry. As an attorney in the financial world, it's definitely a skill you got to sharpen and master. Rombowski, that is one of the biggest things I'm giving Brian Schottenheimer credit for. Man, he has made it his business. He has made it his business to always give Jerry his flowers. And like I said, if you give Jerry his flowers, Jerry don't have to go picking his flowers. And if you'll give Jerry his flowers, Jerry's also going to let you go do some picking of the groceries. What's going on, Commando Mando? Yes, sir. We ready, brother. Yeah, I mentioned that, Kick. I think that was a great point about the black book. Kippy said, get in here. Like, what up, Kippy? What's going on? Mose Logan said, Jerry really likes Shotty because he never gave Mike or Garrett that type of control. Man, I'm telling you. And the reason why he's doing it, Mose Logan, think about this. Man, Brian is and I love this about Brian Schottenheimer. I love this about him. We all should aspire to raise our children like this. He is very respectful to Jerry Jones, not only as an owner, but as an older man. He's very respectful to Jerry Jones. And I absolutely love that about Brian Schottenheimer. And he never, and I noticed what he did this past season. He did nothing to ever paint Jerry in a bad light. I love that about Brian. I really do. I really love that about him. I really love that about him. Let's see. Jimmy loved to strike. Let me see. Let me see if I can make this out. I think you're saying Jimmy loved to stroke Jerry Jones' cat fur the wrong way. He did. I agree. Yeah. Smoke Check said, I really love the CP hire. He seems like he's a true student of the game. I say so too. I'm excited to see what this defense is going to be. If our players buy in, it's going to be spooky. It's going to be spooky hours. Yeah, I think it's going to be great. King Yada secret. Young people can make changes too. That's so weak. Okay, give me some more to that. Robert Dudley said, G, you draw more flies with honey than vinegar. Yeah. Mike T, he said, G, you speak Greek. No, don't speak it as much. Not speak it as much as I can read it. Yeah, I don't speak it, but I can read it. Yeah, because the Bible is written in Koine Greek. It's not the modern Greek. Koine Greek is more of what you would call slang. It's like Greek slang. It was the everyday language of the people. The Greek that's used today, that's more of a more literate Greek. Sebastian said, can't trust a linebacker with two bad knees. Sebastian, don't speak that into existence. I'm already feeling real good tomorrow. Sebastian, think about this. This is the first offseason that DeMarion Overshown has actually went into healthy. It's the first one, bro. It's the first one he's went into healthy. So all I'm going to do is just keep praying for this man. I'm going to keep praying for this man that he stay healthy. Real Estate Vet said, can we talk about how he might bring some Eagles over? I think the Eagles that he may bring over is, if anything, they're going to probably try to get Jalen Phillips. And I think they're going to try to get that safety from the Eagles. And we'll talk about that on the next go-around. I'm going to read a few more comments and I'm going to get out of here. Sebastian said Michael Parsons trade any chance the Cowboys defense have had. Now, I don't think the defense would have been really good, Sebastian, with Michael. I really don't. But what I do think it ended is the Cowboys' opportunity at getting after the quarterback. I think it ended a lot of those chances, in the hindsight. Yeah, Mike T said you saw when Shotty went into the defensive room, the defense played better. Only issue is the offense tapered off a little bit. And I don't think he wants to do that again. Queen, answering my question from earlier. She said she think it was smart that Jerry and Steven were not there to answer the GP questions. Yeah, I think it was really smart because Clarence has been... I agree. Clarence Hill would have been the first one asking about George Pickens. You're right. This was about CP and the defense. Yep, I agree. Rodney Evans, he said, Uncle G, Rebel will be okay. I think he's going to be great. When he changed that jersey number and fixed that sock too high. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Backbreaker 10K is back. He said, talk is cheap. Cowboys fans are hype about Parker, but remember, he was with the Eagles defense who had better players on defense, 100% facts. Oh, I ain't going to argue with you. I'm not going to argue with you, Backbreaker, but what I'm excited about is that they're going to get him the players. Let me tell you the conclusion that we can all come to. The conclusion we can all come to. Jerry knew he needed a new defensive coordinator. He got him. Jerry knows the only way that defense coordinator is going to be successful, he got to get him players. Now I want to see Jerry go get them. Go get those players, Jerry. All right, let me read a couple more. We're going to be out. Frank Lawrence said, G-Man, y'all pumping me up with all y'all knowledge. Man, I told you, Frank Lawrence, this is the best chat on YouTube. This is the best chat. He said, I'm sporting the brand new Dallas Cowboys. Hold on, let me see. I'm sporting the brand new Dallas Cowboys ball cap up here in North New Jersey. Gets attention. Giants and Philly fans are going to be sweating us, promise you. Yes, sir. Derek Rose, would you prefer Christian Parker in the booth or down on the sideline? I would actually prefer Christian Parker until I see something different. I think he would be better in the booth so that he can see everything from the top. He seems to be that kind of mind. I would like to see what he does from the top. I would leave the sideline stuff to Brian Schottenheimer. I would leave all of that to Brian. I really would. Mose Logan, he said, I think he gonna sit in the booth. You know what? And I think he is too, just based on saying what he said. And I would rather him be up there because I think you can see better. Robert Dudley said NFC North really made Dallas Cowboys regret hiring Matt Eberflus. Facts. Yeah, Mike T, it's not Jerry's fault waiting on Parsons. He was wanting to sign him until he was sleeping on the table. Yeah, man, I'm glad. Hey, you know what? I'm glad, though. We got this all behind us. It's time to do the thing. Kendra Thompson said, now that we heard from my DC, let's cut the fat. Got rid of all the non-productive players on defense. Or get rid of all the non-productive players. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. K-Choice, watch this. Deron Bland is going to be the slot cornerback. Deron Bland will be the slot cornerback. The Cowboys are going to get them an outside corner in the draft. Deron Bland will play outside corner. And then when they move to their passing downs, I believe he'll move to the slot. Ryan Hanna, what up? Derek Jones, you don't find that to be coincidental? I talked about this about 3 weeks ago. Nobody thinks this is coincidental? The year the Seattle Seahawks is coming up for sale, and everybody knew it before the season. They win the Super Bowl. Okay. I'm going to leave it alone. I'm going to leave it alone. Okay, I got you, Robert Dilly. I'm going to give you the last word. Well, I'm going to give my man Ron Hanna the last word. Robert Dudley said, gee, I mean, let's let go of the Max Crosby thing. I agree. Yeah, he's too far to reach financial business side, on the financial business side. Too much money for one guy. Sorry, G. My bad. No, I got you. Yes, sir. I say the same thing. Kippy! He said we need a stud linebacker. And then I'm going to leave the last part to Ron Hannah. Hannah said, G, Jerry will get us some players. Book it. I agree. All right, guys, it's Wednesday night. Got to go teach the Bible. Until the next time, DC4L, God bless. Let's talk Cowboys when we talk facts. Peace.